across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very happy end of your bank holiday weekend. I hope you had a wonderful time. I did the usual thing. I did a lot of DIY, which I quite enjoy, actually. But I'm here for you now, and coming up at midnight, I'm very excited because we all miss the unexplained, don't we? Well, I certainly do. I certainly miss Howard Hughes very much, a lovely man. I wanted to do something a little bit different at midnight for you on this bank holiday. And I wanted to get Andy Lound, who's agreed to come all the way down from Birmingham for you. So he's going to be here live in the studio. And we're going to talk about space. And we're going to talk about everything that you want to talk about. I've got loads of space stories here. If you see, regularly I speak to Andy and I absolutely love space. But the one thing I want you to know is there is no such thing as a stupid question. There really isn't. I always say to Andy, look, this sounds a bit daft, but... And he goes, no, that's a good question. So there's no such thing. If you've always had a question about space travel, aliens, whatever it might be, there is no such thing as a stupid question. There genuinely isn't. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got this question, but they might laugh at me for asking, absolutely we won't, because I ask really basic questions to Andy all the time, because I don't even pretend to understand the vastness of space and space exploration and what's going on with all these different things. So I absolutely urge you to give Andy a call at midnight. So the number that you're going to need for that is 0344 499 1000. So if you think you've ever seen anything in the night sky or wondered about anything in the night sky, or you've heard stories about things, just give us a call, because it'll be fascinating. Like I said, there's no such thing as a daft question. Just ask what you've always wanted to know. You can text as well if you put the word talk up front and then your message to 87222. So all of that is coming up at midnight. And like I said, Andy has come all the way, not from space, but from Birmingham, which is almost as far, to be here to answer your questions. So please do take advantage of him. So that's coming up at midnight. Before that, oh yeah, it's Ed the Wise Man. He is going to be in, our transport and travel journalist. He's here to go through the newspapers for Tuesday. Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward is here to talk about theatre, and Alex Three Lions Irons is also going to be here talking about sport. So all of that to come over the next 3 hours. But before that, there's an awful lot of news going on over in the United States. And as we know with America, they catch a cold, they sneeze and we catch a cold. Whatever happens there tends at some point to happen here, or whatever happens there does affect us here. I mean, particularly things like if you're planning a holiday to the United States, are you going to go somewhere where there's, I don't know, where there's soldiers marching the streets, armed soldiers? So maybe you're going to avoid Washington. Are you going to go to New York? Are you going to travel anywhere in the US at the moment? Apparently tourism has been incredibly hard hit as Canadians and the rest of the world appear to be staying away from America. But it does mean, of course, that you can get some nice cheap deals if you fancied going over there, if you weren't worried about ice and things like that. So it's time this bank holiday just to catch up on a few of the things that have been happening over in the United States. And I'm thrilled to say we're joined by one of my very favourite Americans and people in the world, Bill Keeler, host of First News with Keeler on WIBX Radio in New York. Bill, how marvellous to see you.
It is so great to see you, and I have to tell you, we did traveling this year, traveled to Europe, and I worked very hard to try to convince my wife we did not need to wear a T-shirt that read, "I'm Canadian." But
But you
He was
just told
insistent.
everybody that.
That's exactly right. So, well, listen, it's so great to be here.
It's wonderful to see you. I do want to start off with talking about that top story, really, that the National Guard in Washington D.C. has now been instructed by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of State for Defense, to carry firearms. Many of them will be carrying pistols, the M17 pistols, and some carrying M4 rifles. Why?
Well, all it takes, it seems, for this administration is a good story that touches the fears and hearts and minds and fears of Americans. And one ICE agent attacked, or the ICE agents are walking through the street, or just standing by protecting a monument, and someone throws something at them. You can imagine how the story can be amplified, and certainly we want them to be able to protect themselves. My personal belief is they should not be there. However, they're there, and I just think that even when the National Guard came to Los Angeles, the worry was, thinking back to Kent State back in the 1960s, when all it took was one military member to hear something, one member of the National Guard, one shot went off or did it, another shot, and you have how many college students that were shot and killed. You fear for that one mistake that could happen here, or who knows where else. Is Chicago next?
I mean, that's the thing. It's unintended consequences, isn't it? And the availability of, because my understanding was that the National Guard did have the availability of weapons if they needed them, but they had to go get them, or somebody had to bring them to them, which gave them that cooling off, I guess, period. But now with National Guard carrying weapons, they're not trained in civilian control. They're not trained in anything to do with that. They're military trained. So is there a concern that there could be a mistake that could fire off a complete disaster?
I think there are great fears that that could happen. And interestingly, we are so divided in the country between Republicans and Democrats, those who support Donald Trump and those who don't, that I almost think if there was a mistake, it would be, well, that's what happens when D.C. allows itself to get so far out of control, unintended consequences. And I think that is a major fear. But also, let's not forget the visual. This is, we spend all of our time talking about how great we are as a country and a model for the rest of the world, a model for democracy. And all of these things just didn't need to happen. Today, the president signed an executive order basically outlining the burning of the American flag. Now, I've had this debate on the radio so many times. Whenever things are slow, I always say, hey, let's just go with the flag. And it'll get the phones ringing, because the average person believes the American flag being burned is horrific and it should be outlawed. The reality, however, though, is our Constitution allows for one of the greatest versions of freedom of expression and freedom of speech in the entire world. And it protects good and bad. And sometimes free speech is ugly. Burning the flag is ugly. I always say, you have the right to burn the flag. I don't have the right to come up and punch you, but I might just suffer the consequences. But losing that right, to me, is representative of where we're going. We're following the romantic story, the patriotic story. We're following the we are great. We want to be great again. We always were great. It's pretty scary to me that a major part of our population is A-OK with us.
And when Pete Hegseth said they're allowed to carry weapons to defend themselves, let's just remind ourselves that they are defending themselves against American citizens.
Yeah.
That also seems to be somewhat outside of the rules of the Constitution.
Well, as a New Yorker, especially post 9/11, when you go to New York City and you see these members, in some cases, the National Guard has been called in by the governor, which is how it normally works. D.C. is different because it is not a state. But when you see police officers, NYPD, dressed in somewhat military gear, standing, in our minds, they're there to protect us from a possible terrorist attack. And there's a part of that that makes you feel somewhat comfortable. But this is different. This is, we as a nation, as our leadership is putting the National Guard on the streets of Washington, D.C., in order to to bring back law and order. And I got to tell you, I really think that the real debate is, how bad was it? Crime really was down. Well, they played with the numbers, the opponents will say on this. Crime really is bad. Crime is always bad. But is it bad enough for us to put the National Guard on the streets of an American city?
I mean,
I don't.
Like you said, it's the optics of it as
it's
well.
The optics for the rest of the world, not just
exactly
what
that.
The rest of the world sees.
Exactly that. Armed, fully booted and suited. Flak jackets. They're not just stab vests. I can see that they're much heavier than that. These are the weapons and the dress of war. And if you see that on the streets, I mean, there will be some people thinking, yeah, well, we could do that here, couldn't we? And that would cut crime. But at what cost to the national psyche, for a start? There are very limited reasons why the British armed forces can be on Britain's streets.
It to me is a very sad time where we are able to demonize certain variations of our public,
the homeless,
whether it be the homeless, and do homeless people commit crimes? Are homeless people lying in the street, is that unsightly? Of course it is. They do commit crimes. But again, this is something that the local police force has traditionally handled. And so what is the answer? Are we going to just round them up and put them where? Somewhere else? Somewhere less visible? It's kind of what Rudy Giuliani did in New York City, where he just basically took the anything unsightly out of New York City. And it did make New York City safer, and it did make New York City look better. But you do wonder about those people's constitutional right. The fact that they're on the street to begin with is the fact that they probably have some addiction or mental health issue, and their constitutional right allows them to say, no, I'm not going to a treatment center. I have the right to exist in American public. And so we're in a real conundrum here, in a battle of who we really are and what we really want to look like to the rest of the world.
But you are, at the moment, who Donald Trump says you are. And you look to the rest of the world exactly as Donald Trump wants you to be seen in the world.
Yeah, i.e. the Canadian T-shirt that my wife wanted me to wear.
Yeah.
So,
what about New York, though, Bill? Because he's threatened New York. He's threatened a federal takeover of New York. He doesn't like the way New York appears to be voting. He doesn't like the city of New York. He thinks it's a cesspit, and he's talked about putting troops into New York. Now, New York is slightly different geographically and slightly different in terms of the urban area that is New York. I've been to New York. That image of that would be extraordinary.
It would be. And again, we already see right now NYPD, New York police officers, who are dressed in military garb, if you will, who are standing guard in places like Times Square. And however, this is different. This would be the United States military on the streets of New York City, and we're not in the midst of a riot. We're not in the midst of some chaotic moment in history where the governor calls and says, "We need help. Please send in the National Guard." This is completely different, and it's almost, listen, you'd have to be a fool to not think that this is a tool and a weapon that is currently being used by the president. And, we're not going into red cities. We're not going into red states, cities in red states. There's plenty of crime we could focus on, and we're in media. We understand that if I want to focus on a certain city and certain crimes, we can make things look really bad by just covering a lot of stories about a certain location.
Yeah.
And but this is happening in Democrat cities, Democrat states. There's no way you can look at this and not think this is retribution for what happened in these court cases in the previous administration. I don't know how you don't see this as retribution towards our own citizens.
Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, nobody can look at the states at the moment and say, well, it's just coincidental that it's the blue states. That's all it is. I want to as well turn to something that Donald Trump thinks is done and dusted, and that is the Epstein list, the Epstein files. You do a phone in, right? So I know that you've got your finger on the pulse of what a lot of people think, and you're a very mixed state, actually. There's red and blue.
Very much so, yes.
What is the general consensus? Are they satisfied that Ghislaine Maxwell said, oh, no, I never saw Donald Trump behaving inappropriately. No, it was all absolutely fine and dandy. And then she was moved to a soft prison. Is anybody looking at that and going, well, that seems a bit coincidental as well?
Well, in her interview over the weekend where she said, I never saw Donald Trump do anything inappropriate. He was nothing more than a gentleman. But let's go even further and dip into the Alaskan meeting with Vladimir Putin, who said that our elections cannot be trusted. The count is there's corruption in our elections. Now, this is coming from Vladimir Putin.
I know.
And then Donald Trump repeats it as if there's something insightful there that isn't strategically evil, at least in the eyes of Americans. And I just find that, of course, he said that. Of course, Vladimir Putin said that the Ukrainian war we never would have invaded Ukraine had Donald Trump been president. Of course he said that. What would you expect him to say? He's on Donald Trump's side for his own nefarious reasons, and I'm not implying that they're in cahoots together, although, Lord, some of the optics there. But back to the Epstein situation, it's really the same thing. What else is? Of course, she's going to say that. You can't trust her. And here we are, looking at conservative media, basically endorsing. Well, I guess it's all over. I don't believe this is over, because one of the big supporting groups, the supporting group for President Trump, his MAGA Republicans, are furious over this, and there's some breaking away saying, you told us there was something there. You told us there was a list. You told us when you got into office that everything was going to be released. We were going to see it all. Now we want to release the grand jury testimony where people will testify basically to save their own hide. It blows my mind that there are some people that are accepting this. The reality, I feel, though, is it is not over. Congress is not in session. This is the final week. Our holiday, Labor Day holiday, comes up on Monday, and then it's back to work for everybody, and you're going to see action on this again. I don't know how this isn't just completely exposed, and then we'll all have to decide once we see what's in it. I think it's coming out.
And the interesting thing, though, isn't it, that it's either, and it flips in the same sentence, it's either a Democrat conspiracy that they put it together. It doesn't really exist. It's been blown out of proportion, almost saying that there wasn't child sex abuse, there wasn't it was all fabricated by the Democrats, and then he'll in the same sentence say, but I'm not in it anyway. It's kind of like, well, if it was a conspiracy, you would be in it. So,
right.
So it doesn't seem to be making any logistical sense at all.
It's almost as if we're saying, well, of course, conspiracy theorists are going to look at this. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. The administration and his top top members of administration said there was something there. It is going to be released. Finally, we're going to expose the entire Epstein case. And then all of a sudden the brakes get put on and we start seeing it downplayed.
Yeah.
You do not need to be a conspiracy theorist to say there's something going on here.
No, because Trump was saying today that it's a
exactly
conspiracy, but Clinton's on it 28 times
Right.
he flew to the island.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, which one do you want us to believe? Do you think, I mean, you seem to think we will find out.
I do. I don't know how we don't. And if we don't, I really feel that this could be, and I've been on this program for quite some time telling you, yep, this is it. This is the one. This is the one that is finally going to expose President Trump or Donald Trump, and it always isn't. But I do feel that this, and I'm not saying that there's anything there, but I do feel, let's look back to Watergate in this country, and Nixon didn't break into any Watergate hotel. He didn't commit any crime until he began the cover-up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to follow.
Yeah, it was the cover-up that did for him. Just very briefly before we go on, Kilmar Albrega Garcia has now been rearrested. This is the guy that was sent to El Salvador and then was brought back from El Salvador, and they're now looking to send him to Uganda.
I just don't. The Supreme Court in the United States has ruled that here due process is a person is entitled to due process whether or not you are a citizen of the United States. And the problem that I have with this is this isn't just about the Trump administration or about any administration. Every administration has things that they want to hide, but I just find that in this case, all of a sudden we're going to start seeing stories, not that the person is charged with being basically a terrorist in the United States, not charged with being a rapist, that he is a rapist. He is a terrorist. And we need to get these terrorists off the street. And I have to say that's awesome. I think we should be tough on crime. And if there's a terrorist raping women and doing horrible things to children, why, we should do something and convict that person. But that's the key: convict. You need due process. Where is the due process here? And with that said, we are not a country that has. We don't ship people off to third world countries and prisons in faraway lands. You can debate Guantanamo Bay, but this goes so much further than that. I'm
sorry.
Again,
I'm sorry to inform you, Bill, but you are a country that does that.
We are a country.
You
that
are.
does that.
You are. But hopefully,
And,
hopefully, sense will prevail. I am thrilled to have managed to speak to you, Bill. You stay well, and I will speak to you soon, hopefully.
And you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. The fabulous Bill Keeler, host of First News with Keeler on WIBX Radio in New York.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, and it is Petrie, and we have a competition for you, but it ends at 11 o'clock tonight. So you've got between now and 11 p.m. To make your call. We're giving you the chance to win £5,000 spending money, plus tickets to watch American football when it returns to Wembley this October. The Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in the autumn, and we're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box, plus full hospitality and that £5,000. Now, if you want to be in with a chance to win, here's how to enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Wembley to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a TalkSport limited promotion run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See TalkSport.com for terms and conditions.
So there you go. Don't forget that ends at 11 o'clock tonight. So make sure you put your call in, and very good luck to you. It's a great prize. Right now, just a reminder of what's coming up at midnight. And it's a special hour for you because it's bank holiday, and I thought, why not? We've got Andy Lound, our favourite spaceman, in the studio here to answer any of your questions on space. So if you've ever sat there and thought, I know, I really want to ask that, but I think it's a stupid question, I'm not sure. There's no such thing, because nobody really knows about it. Well, apart from Andy, I don't. And I ask a lot of what I think are stupid questions and low-grade questions, but they're not stupid. So if you've ever just sat there and wondered about anything to do with space or aliens or anything you might have seen in the papers or, I don't know, on your television screen or online, give us a call. I mean, if he can answer it, he'll answer it. So there you go, Andy Lound in the studio just for you at midnight. The number you're going to need is 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. Just a reminder of what's coming up. We've got Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward. He will be with us to discuss some theatre news that's coming up. And then Ed Wiseman, our transport and travel journalist, will be in the studio to go through the newspapers for Tuesday. So all of that is coming up. And of course, Andy Lound at midnight. Don't forget that. But now it is time to turn our attention to sport. And Alex, Three Lines Irons, joins me now, TalkSport presenter and producer. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, thank you. We got the wear green memo. That's good.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Well, this is black, so I don't know why it's coming up as green
it's
on the
coming out
on
as
the
green.
camera.
Oh, it's on my. It's only on my little screen, not on
Oh,
the
I
big screen.
see.
Yeah.
If I'd known, I would have worn green. But
Yeah,
I didn't see you right there.
anyway,
So,
it looks green to me, so it's fine.
That'll do. You might want to get your eyes tested.
I might. Quite right. The transfer saga continues. Arsenal have snatched a player from Spurs.
So Arsenal snatched Eberechi Eze under Spurs' nose last week. Eberechi Eze, up to this point, was a Crystal Palace player. Can I just touch on something very, very quickly before I get into this story? So we've had the second week of the Premier League season, and speaking of Arsenal, they won 5-0 against Leeds United on Saturday evening, but that was only half of the story, because halfway through the second half, Arsenal gave one of their youngsters his first team appearance, his first ever debut for the club, his first team appearance. His name is Max Dowman. He's 15.
Oh.
He was born on the 31st of December 2009 and came on to make his appearance for Arsenal, his first ever one on
for the
Saturday
grown-up team, for the adult
for the
team.
first team in the Premier League. Not only that, but when Newcastle and Liverpool were playing earlier this evening, it was 2-2 with 10 minutes of added time into the game at that point. Rio Ngumaha, or I think I'm saying that correctly, for Liverpool, scored the winner on his debut at the age of 16. He turned 17 on Friday. So it's been very much the weekend of the youngsters, which has made me feel rather old. I'm not going to lie.
15 years old, though, playing for the first team. I mean, they must rate him. He's got a very smart, bright future.
We'd like to think so. So it's not unknown for Mikel Arteta to not do this. He did it a couple of years ago with Ethan Nwaneri, giving him his debut at the age of 15 in 2022, I believe. And he's still in the squad. He's not quite in there as a first teamer, but he's hanging around the background in the under-21 squad. And I reckon it might be the same with Max Dowman, unless they really rate him and they try and get him in the first team more often. But at the age of 15, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, let alone be a Premier League player. So congratulations to both those young men on making their debuts, and for Rio scoring the winner for Liverpool. That's a dream come true for any youngster, let alone actually doing it.
Incredible at 16 to be able to do that. Will Arsenal be, will Arsenal be looking to snatch 15-year-olds in future then?
Maybe if I rephrase that, who knows? It depends on their youth system. If there's any that come through that they like the look of, it is not uncommon for Premier League clubs to see a young player that they like the look of and get them into their academy at any age. Some players sign up, as I think Watford signed a young player at the age of 12 earlier last week. Obviously not for the first team, that'd be ridiculous, but they had him sign a contract at Vicarage Road, the stadium of Watford, in the changing rooms, as it's not a pro contract, it's a youth contract, but they're taking these things more and more seriously all the time. So
they've got to look for new talent, haven't they? They've got to back up the talent they've got.
Exactly. My partner's nephews are 10 and 8, I think. One of them wants to be a goalkeeper, but I think being 10 and 8 already, they might be too young to break into any first team at this point. So their futures are more or less over. I'm teasing, of course. But Arsenal completed the signing of England forward Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace. They confirmed that on Saturday, unveiling him to the crowd at the Emirates. It's a deal agreed to be worth £60 million, including £8 million in add-ons for the 27-year-old to become their 7th summer signing. That also takes Arsenal spending over the summer to over £200 million. But Eze had been one of Tottenham's prime targets for the summer, and of course those two are bitter rivals. So for Tottenham fans, they weren't particularly happy that one of the players that they were more or less confirmed to sign had been snatched from under their noses by their most bitter rivals. And there are a lot of comparisons to Sol Campbell, who of course captained Spurs before moving to Arsenal in 2001, although I don't think that's quite the same comparison, considering Eze didn't play for Spurs before going to Arsenal. But that move was snatched up by the news of that snatch happening was on Wednesday. And then it was confirmed on Saturday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it moved quite quickly, and Tottenham were kind of left in Arsenal's dust at that point. But it was a good weekend for both sides in regards to being on the pitch. As I said, Arsenal won 5-0 against newly promoted Leeds United at the Emirates on their first home game of the season. And Spurs travelled to your favourite manager's team, Pep Guardiola, and beat Man City on their own turf 2-0. Thanks to goals from Brennan Johnson and João Palhinha, who was spotted at my supported club, Fulham, yesterday afternoon as he used to play for Fulham. He was in the crowd watching them draw with Manchester United on Sunday afternoon.
Let's turn to tennis now. Oh dear. Medvedev meltdown. He smashed his racket to pieces. We haven't seen that for a while, have we?
No, it's always quite fun when that happens. I always like seeing how long the racket can last.
Not long.
Not long at all.
No.
But a devastated Daniil Medvedev was knocked out of the US Open after a meltdown sparked by a photographer walking onto the court during his first round defeat by Benjamin Bonzi. Medvedev has produced a lot of extraordinary moments at Flushing Meadows, where the US Open is held. He's done it over the past couple of years. He also won it back in 2021. But this was quite a surprise to see, not just to see him go down in the way that he did, but the fact that the game was stopped for about 6.5 minutes when a cameraman walked onto a playing service between the French opponent Bonzi's first and second serve when the third set was at match point at 5-4. Cue Bedlam. Medvedev's reaction changed the course of the match as well. He raged at umpire Greg Allensworth, who decided that Bonzi could have another first serve. This whipped up the crowd in New York into a frenzy and forced a delay, as I said, of 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Almost 2 hours later, shortly before 1 a.m. in New York, Bonzi secured a remarkable 6-3, 7-5, 6-7, 5-7, 0-6, 6-4 win against Daniil Medvedev. But it's not the first time that this umpire has had players kind of have a go at him. One former world number one accused the official, who was criticised by American player Riley Opeka over a decision earlier this year, of wanting to go home. So he's already had a bit of controversy surrounding him this year, and something tells me it might not be the last we heard of this umpire before the year's out. Now,
I was reading some stuff that Medvedev had said, though, and he said he wished he'd behaved worse. He wished he'd been naughtier at
How would a tennis player behave worse than smashing up his racket and having a big temper tantrum?
Yeah, but I think he wants to be the bad boy, doesn't he? So I think
he's kind of seen as like the playful pantomime villain.
Yeah.
He's lightly evil, I think he's been compared to by some journalists. But
yeah, and I think he wants to play into that image. So he was saying earlier on that he was a bit disappointed that he hadn't behaved worse. So there you go. Golf.
Next time.
Golf this time. Tommy Fleetwood finally wins.
Yeah, the first coach of Tommy Fleetwood believes that his floodgates can open after the Englishman landed his first American tournament victory at the Tour Championship in Atlanta, Georgia. The 34-year-old champion had enjoyed 6 runner-up finishes amongst 30 top fives before landing his first US title at the 164th attempt. So you've got that saying, if you don't succeed, try and try again.
Yeah.
If you don't succeed, try and try and try and try for another 164 times, and maybe you'll get there. We say to the children in the academy, you don't lose, you either learn or you win. That's what the coach told another outlet. He has used these near misses as a positive. He's now moving forward and has crossed the finishing line in regards to picking up his first US Open trophy, and his first trophy over in the States as well. Of course, you've got the US Ryder Cup happening, or you've got the Ryder Cup happening between Europe and the US next month. I'm pretty sure the team's going to announce later this week, so Tommy Fleetwood is going to want to be in and around that pack when that team gets announced. I think it's the 27th, so it will be on Wednesday, I think, that they'll be announcing those two sides. And also you'll see LIV golfers and PGA golfers coming together for the US Ryder Cup, so it should look to be a good competition when that rolls around in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, that sure is. That really is tenacity, isn't it? Keep.
I wish
trying.
I had that patience.
I don't. I definitely don't. I'd have given up at 163, probably. I
would have given up at a 6th, I think.
Yeah. The last nation to not play an international football fixture get their first taste of international football. I had to read that several times when I got the rundown.
Yeah, so a football team has said that they have made history of playing its first ever international match for its country. That country being the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. They played a round-robin competition in Springdale, Arkansas, a couple of weeks ago. They played against the U.S. Virgin Islands, which they lost 4-0 to, who are a FIFA-recognised nation. They then also played Turks and Caicos, one of the Caribbean islands, in the Outrigger Cup, which is why this tournament why they're involved in this tournament. This is something that the Marshall Islands Football Federation have put together. They were a lot closer in this game. They only lost 3-2. So to have come quite close against a FIFA-recognised nation, albeit Turks and Caicos, is a pretty big achievement for a country who has never played international football before. The Pacific Island nation is home to about 40,000 people and had previously been the self-proclaimed last country on earth without a football team. It was put together by an English coach from Banbury, head coach Lloyd Hours. He previously said that it was definitely surreal that even the team had thought it would never happen. So it's lovely to see
I used to live near there. I was brought up around there.
There you go.
Banbury was my local town. Yeah.
You might know Lloyd Owers' brother or sister.
Probably.
If he has one. There's your link to the Marshall Islands.
Probably. I mean, Gary Glitter's cousin taught me to drive. So.
I mean, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, they're Banbury lads as well. Gary Glitter was a Banbury lad. That's their claim to fame.
I wouldn't call it a claim to infamy, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a surprising story. I have a similar one, which I'm not going to tell on air. I'll tell you in person.
Tell me when you next see me in the corridors of power. Alex, thank you. Wonderful to see you. Take care. I'll see you very soon. Alex, 3 Lions Irons there, TalkSport presenter and producer.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock. Just a reminder of what's coming up at the top of the hour. Ed Wiseman, transport and travel journalist, is going to be here to go through the newspapers for Tuesday. And, of course, the fabulous Andy Lound is with us from midnight to cover all topics space. So think Howard Hughes. And just call in and let us know any of the questions you've got. Like I said, there's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to space, because it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? So give us a call, 0344 499 1000. We're slightly closer to home, but still away with the fairies. Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward joins us now. Broadcaster and host, well, you say broadcaster, and host of the Here She Is show on YouTube.
You've had a shave.
I have, yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Thanks.
Listen, is there any way you can pull a few strings for that competition that you're running?
No.
Because I want to get to the football.
I know, but you want the hospitality and the £5,000. That's what you would.
That would be all right, but actually that wouldn't be a funny joke, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Hello, Petrie Hosken. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you very much.
Good. Talk to
That's
me.
that. I'll see you later then, yeah?
See you later. Bye then.
Can I just ask a quick question? I did have that. You know, you gave me your chicken curry the other day. I had it today. It will still be all right, won't it?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Because there
it
were
should
little
be.
black bits in it. Was that?
No, that's fine. That's just where I cooked that's where I grilled the chicken.
It's not. It's not going to be like a beef Wellington moment for me, is it?
You'll find out. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Elf. Talk to me about Elf. This is the film version. They did a
Yes.
stage version of the film, right?
Yeah. So the film, obviously, it's all about the guy who, when he was a baby, he got into Santa's sack. I can't remember what his name was in the film, but he got in Buddy, and
Buddy.
he crawled into the, Santa's sack, and he sounds rude, and then he went to Greenland, and
Lapland, you mean?
no, he went to Greenland. This is another film.
Oh, right. Another Santa Claus.
Lapland, and then he was brought up by elves and everything, and so he's a misfit. And then Santa can't. It's the usual, isn't it? And
Yeah.
give the presents out, and he saves the day. So this was here last year. It's at a different theatre. It's the Old Witch Theatre, but it starts on the 28th of October till the 3rd of July. 10 weeks only. Now, I know the cast. I asked the cast if I could tell you who the cast were, and they said, no, it's not been announced yet.
Oh.
But it is exciting. Ticket.
That's rude.
I know, but I can't spoil.
No, you can't.
Against
They've got
me.
a press release coming out or something.
Yeah, but the reason we're doing this so early, and this is my husband, who is a company manager. He says you need to get these tickets early because he said, because Petrie was saying they're always rubbish seats and whatever. It's because you've got to get them in early, because otherwise then you are left with the rubbish seats. And they start at $39.50, but guess how much they go up to? £150.
What do you get with that? A date with the lead actor?
Or you get to live with him for Christmas.
Oh, that's nice.
Exactly.
That's all right then.
And
I'll
he
pay
buys
that.
you all the presents. Yeah, it's well worth it. Better than your competition. No.
150 quid for a ticket though. That's a lot.
Ridiculous. But it's Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really nice one, isn't it? So basically, buy your tickets now. That's why I'm telling you now. So you get good seats.
Now this is a show that we went to see together, wasn't it? Kinky Boots.
Kinky Boots. Can you remember? I laughed to myself when I was doing this. This is also, I'm telling you now, so you can get your tickets first.
It's a great show.
When we went to see it, can you remember the guy who plays the drag queen? Nearly
Fell down the stairs because he's
really high
literally
heels.
wearing heels that. I mean, they are, and we both just went.
Yeah.
It was an awful moment.
Can you remember what we did afterwards? Not afterwards, because that.
Knowing you and me, we went out to drink somewhere.
But we met Cyndi Lauper first. Can you remember in that room? We went and met. You didn't want to go and say hello. I went up and she was just standing like this to everybody. You just went, hi, I'm so pleased to meet, and just this. Because she wrote the musical.
Oh, that's right.
Can you not actually remember this?
I honestly can't remember meeting
life is
Cyndi
like
Lauper.
she meets all these big icons. Don't remember them because she meets so many, don't you?
I do. It's like.
So anyway, that is going on at the London Coliseum.
It really is a great show, and it's set in Northampton. I seem to remember with the last
Charlie
place.
Price. His dad dies, so he has to take over the factory there, and it's all going to go under. But this drag queen goes, "You've got to make these boots for us," sort of thing, for drag artists, and it saves the day. That sort of thing.
It's really good. Very, very good.
Johannes from Strictly is playing the drag queen in this.
Oh.
Now this is, I know this sounds crazy again, but this is what my husband says. You need to get your tickets now. It's 17th of March till the 11th of July of 2026. I know this sounds a bit, but we've got to do this now, otherwise you're going to get rubbish seats. And the prices for this, you'll love this one. You thought 150 was quite expensive. This one it starts at £24. So hang on to that before you make your faces. But it does go up to £191 for a ticket.
And that's for Greece.
No, that's. Where are you going to Greece? No, this is Kinky.
Oh,
Boots.
this is still Kinky Boots. Oh my God.
I'm giving you a right good review. I'm not just brushing past, Petrie. I'm giving you all the details about that. What about £191? I'll take you to the theatre if you like, Petrie.
Yeah.
Right.
Will you be
But I
buying?
will. No, I will own you after I buy you that ticket.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. It's
No,
it's,
it's
it's
not.
not worth it. What about Greece? A secret cinema.
This is amazing. My sister went the other day, and I've seen a lot of people there that have gone. Greece Immersive Theatre. So it's at Evolution London in Battersea, and the whole thing is 2.5 hours. You turn up, you're a bit before, like half an hour before, and it's, I mean, just Greece. And the characters are walking around you. They show the cinema. You can go inside. It changes from scene to scene. You move around. You can buy drinks. You can eat. And when the big screen's on and they're doing "You're the One That I Want" and all of that, the actors are all there, and they're always there as well, acting it through type thing. Not necessarily getting in the way of the film, but we all know the film anyway,
Yeah.
don't we? So it's just another way of enjoying this iconic film, which is brilliant, isn't it? And you do the sing-along and everything. In fact, if you weren't such a wuss if you got off your sofa, we could go. I'd like to take you there as well. That is, you can get £35 tickets, up to £45 tickets. That is only on until the 7th of September, so you've really got to go and do this. You can also, you stand all the time, and you're a bit worried about that, but it's actually okay, and there are little places you can sit down, or you can pay extra and be in one of the cars or anything like that. So it just depends on the...
There's a lot of this immersive stuff around, isn't there?
Yeah. I do love it. I'm into it.
Well, you did, just going off theatre, but you did an immersive Traitors thing this weekend.
My word, near Tottenham Court Road, and it's Traitors Immersion. What about immersion? And they did have an immersion there if you wanted to wash your hands with hot water. But it's that was amazing. I sent you little videos of it.
Yeah.
It all starts just around a table like they've got, and as you say your name and why you're not a traitor, the light goes on, the music's there. You've got a woman who's not pretending, but it's very much like Davina, giving it all the sass and doing little tasks and being taken away. You put your mask on for the choosing and everything. I got killed in the night, so you open it and you're just not there.
I would have killed you first as well.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, because there's quite a lot of these immersive things around at the moment, and theatre, and there certainly has been in London for a long time, but I'm guessing in major cities there will be as well.
Yeah, no, and what you've got in those dotted around are those escape rooms.
So it's just an extension of that.
That was only £40, by the way, the Traitors, if you did want to go.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Now, you're off to Broadway, not as a performer.
I'm doing a show.
Selling popcorn.
I am indeed. Well, I want a two-way with this, if you don't mind. It's Death Becomes Her. I'm going on Sunday to see this show. I've shown you the two ladies in this show, haven't I?
We had a night of it.
Yeah. And so it's Death Becomes Her. The film was with Goldie Hawn
and Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep and what's his name? Die Hard.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. So Jennifer Simar and Megan Hilty are playing these parts, and it's, from what I've seen, the campiest bit of theatre you will ever see in your lifetime. It's the scenes seem to be like Alexis and Crystal.
Yeah.
So all of that. The costumes are just so glamorous, and the singing is off the scale. It's so amazing. And funny enough, I'm going to be interviewing Jennifer's best friend who does a podcast with this guy. This guy's called Patrick Hosken, and this is another thing that's going to be on Saturday night in Soho at 7 o'clock. It's 21 Soho at 7 o'clock. It's only for an hour. It's an evening with Patrick Hosken. It's laughs, drinks, and drama. Do you know what he's going to be talking about?
Your favourite.
Yeah. He's very famous for a podcast called True Crimes Obsessed. him and a co-host talk about crimes, and they put their spin on it and talk about it. But they also do, with this Jennifer from Death Becomes Her, the Golden Girls deep dive, and they talk about each episode of the Golden Girls. I mean, as if we wouldn't believe how long with that. But this hour show that Patrick is doing, he's going to be talking about when he was at college. He met up with B. Arthur, so he loved her, and she hated him.
Oh no!
So the hour is talking about this awful interview that he did with her. She just hated him, and apparently he's got a drag queen on the screen playing B. Arthur, so it's interactive. But just, I mean, we know as interviewers that you can have. I had the other day
the worst
interview in my life with a drag queen called Myra Devois.
It was awful.
He was just, I don't know. They must have been having such a bad day, but it was horrible. I've had so many messages after it went out going, wow, you did so well with that.
Honestly, I mean, I've had a few in my career, but I think I'm in a position now where I would just ask my team to take the fader out, and we'd call it a day if it was live. A bit like I'm going to do to you now.
Can I do one more thing quickly? But they want tickets for that. It's patrickstour.com. Go to that for that on Saturday. It's going to be amazing.
All right. And you'll see Timmy there as well, if that's what you want. Timmy, thank you very much indeed. Timmy Alexis Carrington, broadcaster and host of the Here She Is ShowTube on YouTube.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it is Petrie with you, and with me it is Ed Wiseman, our travel and transport journalist. How are
Petrie.
you?
I'm very well.
Good to see you. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about space. Are you a space geek? Well, you've not travelled there,
no,
obviously.
not yet.
Not yet.
It will be a while. I think once TfL Zone 1,500
Yeah.
opens us up to travel to Venus, I might have a professional interest.
Yeah.
But until that point, I
Until
look up,
then.
I see the stars, I point out Orion's belt. But
Are you not curious about
I'm
it?
curious, but I feel as though it's outside my lifetime. Do you know what I mean? I feel as though realistically I'm not going to go to space. I'm going to die before space is a thing.
I'm fascinated by the fact that I can't. I literally, my brain cannot work with infinity.
No, it doesn't. It just crashes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally
Same.
just crashes.
Yeah.
And to imagine something as infinite, I cannot do.
Is space infinite? Are we about to find out?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I mean, how and the fact that people always say, well, what was there before space?
Yeah.
Well,
Nothing really.
nothing. There was just that again, because
Sure.
we're so used to living in finites, aren't
Yeah,
we? That
and
we
these are-
live in a finite world. Things run out. Life
Yeah.
runs out, but not.
Space is quite abstract in that sense.
I can't get my head around it.
Do you-
A universe,
Yeah,
and then there's another universe,
potentially.
and then another universe. No, they know there's another universe,
Right.
but then there's probably another
Yeah.
one, and it just goes on.
Or are we a simulation?
Or are we flat on a flat Earth thing?
It's possible. It's possible.
It isn't possible.
Well, I don't know. You never know. I'm keeping all of my options open at this point.
You're keeping
if
all your
somebody
options
said
open.
that it's flat, I'd be surprised and disappointed.
But I wonder how far you could get in space in 9 hours, because you didn't get really that far in
Yes,
9
I have
hours,
griped
did
about
you?
this. I have been on an Avanti for 9 hours today, 9.5 hours. Actually, I was on an LNER from Pitlochry in Scotland
Right.
to King's Cross, and it was supposed to take 6 hours and it took 9. So I'm very grateful to be sitting on
Why?
something. Because multiple reasons. A train broke down in front of us, and then a human being broke down in front of us. I believe somebody left Edinburgh Waverley Station and went for a walk down the track while we waited and ate quite bad guacamole, which was all they had for sale.
Oh no!
At the
And did you have
kiosk.
to stand up for?
No, I had a seat. I was one of the lucky ones. I had a seat, but other people were standing in the vestibules, presumably also eating the guacamole. They have these dips, you see, Petrie.
Right.
And I've been at a wedding all weekend. As you can probably hear from my voice, I'm quite hoarse and a little bit poorly. And the guacamole was the only vegetable they sold
Oh no!
in the cafe.
After
And
a weekend of drinking.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And so I've been smearing it into my mouth in the vague hope that I will
Feel
gain
healthier.
some semblance of health back while sitting on a train that was immobile for most of the time.
Oh.
They rerouted via Carlisle, which is quite a scenic detour
Yeah.
down the other side.
But while it was stationary, was there air conditioning on? And
There was
things
air
like that?
conditioning. It was quite
that's all
stuffy.
right.
I mean, air conditioning is probably a bold word, but
Okay.
it was uncomfortable in myriad ways. There was a screaming baby that's put me off child. So
Yeah.
I'm a child forever.
Yeah.
And I think just all told, you know, do you ever get a moment where you think I don't want to be a broadcaster anymore?
Not
Because
often.
I had a moment where I'm just not interested in trains, and I'm a train guy.
You're a train
And
guy.
maybe I've completed it. Maybe that was it. Maybe
Yeah,
I've
the
had
sun
enough
was
trains.
carrying the story, wasn't it? You pointed
Yeah,
to it.
I think
earlier
it
on, the
was.
train
But
probe.
that could have been something else. There was a naked man in front of a train on the.
There could have been another train.
It could have been that multiple naked men, multiple trains. We don't know.
On one of the hottest days of the
On
year.
one of the hottest days of the year. Incidentally, it is very interesting how often there is a naked man in front of a train. In the Venn diagram of my career, naked drunk people on train tracks actually makes a little
Really?
dent. Yeah, it happens quite a lot. Near train stations, on bank holiday weekends, people have had too much lager, those M&S tinnies, and people just go walkabouts. All the trains stop. Big news.
No, awful. I think the train travel in this country is just hell on earth.
It's pretty bad. It was pretty bad today. But
I mean, and
were,
you travelled on trains all over Europe and all over the place.
I have.
But
I think all of this boils down to your expectations, and I think my expectations of Britain as a railway nation. Some of the first railways were here. And compare that with, I don't know, Romania, where I've been on some pretty ropey trains. But I've expected it because
Yeah.
it costs
Yeah.
no money.
Yeah.
And I knew what I was going in for. But I did not know what I was going in for at 9:30.
do you get your money back?
Well, that's another saga. Because, according to LNER, the train was cancelled, so it doesn't seem to qualify for delay repay.
But you were on it, so
But
how?
we were on it. But it said that it was cancelled, and it had a notification to everybody's phone while we were on it as we were trundling through Grantham. that it had been cancelled, and it was demonstrably not cancelled.
Yeah, because you were
But
alive.
the whole thing, it just feels that you know when you finish a
You're
fight,
gonna have a fight,
you
aren't
finish
you?
a battle and you get
Yeah.
off. I got off into King's Cross. Obviously, it's Carnival weekend here in London,
Yeah.
so the vibes are quite particular. I actually got a taxi from King's Cross. I didn't want to get on the tube.
No.
Not after all that. I've done
No.
enough trains. And you get home, open a laptop, and it's just not working. Delay repay isn't working. And do you know what I mean when it just stacks?
Yeah.
All of these minor, very surmountable first world problems.
But you know you've got a fight on your
I've got
hands now.
pins and needles in my bum because I sat down for 9 hours, and now the, delay repay isn't going to try to refund me. So anyway, I won't complain about my journey today or evening.
No.
But I may come back to it.
You may come back to it. Let's have a look at the Washington Post.
Yes.
Trump's threat of troops looms over big cities. The word that's been missed from that headline is looms over big blue
Yes.
cities.
Chicago next. I
Chicago
believe.
apparently next.
Yes. Like
The
I
third
said,
most populous city in the United States.
Is it?
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would have named some others. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I know that's must be one of the most sizable sort of Democrat strongholds
Yes. Yeah.
by a long chalk.
And they're not happy about it apparently. But yes, it is the third most populous city in the US.
And they are very much in his firing line, I think.
And it's where Barack Obama was from.
I thought he was from Kenya.
No, that was
Yeah.
just
I remember
fake
that.
news.
Remember when that was the scandal?
Because he was born, his birth certificate was Hawaiian, wasn't
Hawaii,
it?
that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
And do you remember when he wore the tan suit?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was a disaster,
Imagine.
wasn't it? Imagine now.
Thank goodness.
I know. Imagine.
Yeah, the whole National Guard going into American cities is exactly what Kamala Harris was warning about, I think,
She was.
about 8
Yeah.
months ago.
Yeah.
And she was right. There are some of her tweets. Some
Some
of
of what she was saying was absolutely spot on,
yeah.
actually. But the Illinois leaders decrying the Pentagon military plans, a more president clash. DC troops are now carrying weapons, and for self-defense against American citizens. It's all. I mean, this. You're a travel journalist. This must be having an impact,
it's having a huge impact
on
on
American
tourism, certainly, yeah, definitely. I mean, my interest is far more about the nuts and bolts of the transport system rather than the broad
Tourism,
brush macro. But yes, I think depending on who you ask, depending which sector you ask, and it's very state dependent, I think New York and California still attract a huge amount of tourists from all over the world. But across the rest of the US, there are some pockets where they are struggling.
Well,
Hotels are
LA
struggling.
apparently.
Yes, even parts of California, they're saying
yeah.
the amount of travel is down. I don't think they are being as badly affected by it economically because they also have, what is it? How big is their economy? What ranking is it?
Yeah,
it's high.
The Californian economy is, I think it's the
It's
fourth in the world.
It's something ridiculous.
Something like that.
But I think other parts of the
As a
US
state,
that
yeah.
are more dependent on tourism are really seeing some. some problems.
I was just talking to Timmy Alexis Carrington Wood a moment ago. He's off to Broadway, and when we were chatting before, he was saying that because his husband works as a manager of. It's not the theatre. It doesn't manage the theatre,
Sure.
but the show. And he was chatting to his cohorts in Broadway, and the tickets are just not selling. So people are being able to pick up reasonably cheap tickets now to Broadway shows if you want to go.
How much of that is domestic markets?
Quite
being
well.
affected?
You're affected by Canada.
Yeah,
You're
of
affected.
course.
A lot of people are also affected, probably domestically,
Yeah.
by tariffs and
Yeah.
things like that, and the cost of living going up. And people just saving their money because they don't know if they're going to have a job, or especially if they work for the states. But and flights across to America now are. A lot of people reporting that they're fairly empty, and that it's not looking good,
No.
and it's not getting better.
No.
And I think having armed soldiers on just a normal street.
Yes.
I mean, you can imagine that in London.
Exactly. I think we have a
It would
real
be
aversion to that
intimidating,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Definitely.
We
And
definitely would.
In general, if there is some sort of if there are armed people walking around the streets, you kind of don't go.
Yeah.
I think we are quite risk averse as a holidaying nation. We
Yeah,
want somewhere
I'm
that
not
has
going to go somewhere where there's
No, absolutely
guns on. I mean, I know there's already guns on the streets in America, but you know, in the hands of
but not in the
thousands of
bits that you want
soldiers.
to go to. In Washington
Yeah.
DC is obviously on the tourist trail for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people, and it's sort of associated with the kind of Americana that people want to go and see. But at the same time, people are, I think, not just worried about being shot at, but also or being involved in unrest. But I think you do hear stories about people being deported or bounced at the border or detained unjustly, and people just think, why bother?
Yeah, and they're going to start charging, I think, $200. It was either $200 or £200 per tourist visa.
Yeah.
That's going to have an impact as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
especially if it's a family that are thinking of going there. That's
Yeah.
a family of 4.
Precisely.
You're suddenly looking at nearly £1,000
Yeah, you could
extra.
go to Scotland for that.
Yeah, well, you could
yeah.
certainly go to Canada and not pay that.
For example, I think the problems with that kind of decision is that you put your tourist visa in the same category as the very difficult and expensive to get tourist visas.
Yeah.
And if actually your tourist trade is Disneyland and similar holidays, people aren't going to jump through the hoops that they might otherwise jump through for China or
because they're going on an adventure
Nigeria
holiday.
or all of the others that
Yeah.
are a bit fiddly to get involved with. So to me that feels like a very short term goal.
Yeah, it's expensive, right? I mean, it's especially when you say, look, they're normally, I would suggest, family holidays, maybe going to the Epcot Centre and to Disneyland and to Disney World or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be a family of 4, family of 5, maybe even more, grandma, grandpa going along as well on a special one-off holiday. You're suddenly looking at loading that, even if it is cheaper to get there, you're suddenly looking at loading that with quite a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think people will. I think there are so many storms affecting travel to the US at the moment, partly the vague moral background questioning of whether it's a good place to go as a tourist anyway. But if there are people roving the streets with masks and automatic rifles and you have to pay $200 to go there, that's obviously going to have a chilling effect. As you say, Canada is lovely and doesn't have those things.
Doesn't
and
have
has
those things.
cheese and scenery and things to go and visit without the risk of armed uprising.
Now, I'm just trying to imagine what it would do to cities like London, you know, or Liverpool, where people will go and have a look at the history if there were armed.
Well, when you think about the rumours that go around about London having no-go zones, and I think a lot of Americans do believe Fox News when they say that it's fallen to Sharia law and things like that.
It's just such nonsense.
It might have an effect on people, but I think if there were genuine, very well-covered, very newsworthy incidents of armed police tackling people to the ground just on the streets, people would stop coming. I think there is a difference between those rumours of, you know, come to London, get stabbed. It's sort of an exaggeration, but when it's actually happening, it's very difficult to come around from. And that happens all the time in Paris, for example. Paris, every few years they just set fire to everything, and that's kind of a thing that they do. And that has a bit of a dip on tourism. People don't want to fly into Paris if everything's on fire.
No.
And I think, there are countries going in and out. But
it's interesting to see America go through this, because that was always kind of a safe bet holiday, wasn't it? That was where everybody really wanted to go. Very stable, easy,
practical.
Yeah,
you turn up.
Nice people.
Yeah,
you know,
you travel around in air-conditioned comfort, being fed very unhealthy food for a while, and then you fly home and talk about it. And when you think about all the landmarks in the world, when you think about how many of them are in the US, the Grand Canyon,
amazing country.
Absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, all countries, I say all countries, lots of countries have gone through periods of not being on the tourist trail. When you think about people who are going to the Balkan states now, and very much within living memory, that was not somewhere that you would go for fun.
Although the Germans used to still go on holiday.
Just a little bit,
Croatia,
just into Croatia, right?
Yeah.
They didn't sort of go deep into.
You used to see a lot of stolen VWs with German plates.
Yes.
That were nicked by soldiers and used in the war.
I think a lot of that still does go on.
Yeah, probably. But you would still see people in the Croatian part.
Quite easy to sort of get to.
Yeah.
The Germans do love going south. They are insatiable.
I just think, why are you coming here for a holiday? Mind you, that bit was
cheaper ships and very safe. People are going to Lviv.
Rachel wants to know, did you and Ed talk this afternoon before the show to coordinate your outfits?
No, just the producer phoned me first thing this morning
and said,
for
look,
heaven's sake, you want the green one, not the other green one, the green one. No.
As if this programme is that well planned, Rachel.
Yeah.
just let me say,
No,
as if.
I'm pleased that somebody noticed. I wonder what it looks like on the cameras. Actually, do we look more
Do we look
or
more
less?
like? I don't know.
I think it works quite well.
They work well. For those of you listening on radio, we just look gorgeous.
No,
there we go.
phenomenally attractive, both of us.
Simon in Bray sent a message saying, I went to Las Vegas for Christmas and it will be my last visit to America. It was my 7th visit to Vegas since the year 2000, as well as multiple trips to New York as well. Not only was Vegas and New York looking very, very tatty, but the ridiculous tipping and high prices have put me off. Also, for the first time ever, I actually felt uncomfortable walking up and down the strip and feared for my safety. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you get better service and food in London these days than you do in America.
Wow.
As far as I'm concerned, it's finished as a tourist destination. That's Simon in Bray.
I have heard that about Vegas in particular. Which
I've been to Vegas. It's very tatty.
It is, but it is a tourist destination.
Yeah.
The whole thing is
Yeah.
flamboyant, and once you lose that magic, what?
Yeah, once the rose-coloured glasses come off.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there to film at Nellis Air Base,
Okay,
which is you probably know this as a travel person, but I was there filming fighter jets because there was the RAF were across doing a thing with the American fighter pilots. But we stayed in Vegas. But my organisation was so tight that we stayed in a motel off the strip.
Right.
So it was still and all the buildings look like they're just there, but they're so far away. They're miles and miles and miles away.
A good drive.
A really good drive. I mean, a very long drive actually. So I was out in some dodgy motel. That the only thing I got for breakfast was a hermetically sealed Twinkie bar or whatever it's called that was my breakfast.
That will not quite do it.
And it just tasted of chemicals.
Yeah,
It
of
was just
course.
awful.
Yeah,
and in fact, all the food in Vegas
very
was.
odd.
I felt so unhealthy there.
I would have thought that your colleagues, your probably American counterparts being put up in Caesars or whatever, would be having lobster for breakfast and much more.
Well, they were put up
gratuitous,
there, but I wasn't. But no, they were still. You couldn't get fresh food, fresh vegetables or anything. I was yearning for fresh.
Just something
food.
with a bit of crunch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but all the food was free.
Yeah, of course.
But
what was it? I mean, out in the middle of Nevada, presumably there are the odd, very unpleasant hotels and.
But I stayed in one.
Yeah.
The motel.
Yeah.
Really ropey.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, you've got to try it at least once.
You do.
I suppose.
You do have to try it, or you just have to hear somebody else has tried it and decide.
Just hear the people getting shot down the strip. No, it was me and my cameraman that had 2 rooms, and we couldn't have them together for some reason because the room in the middle was being rented by a gang or some prostitute who was working all night, to put it that way. It was a very interesting trip. Right, we're going to take a quick break and then have a look at the UK papers for Tuesday.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you and with me, Ed Wiseman, transport and travel journalist. Let's turn our attention to the Sun newspaper. Harry is so in love.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
That wasn't easy to read actually. Harry Styles has been on a string of dates with Catwoman Zoe Kravitz. Is she related to the other Kravitz? I don't know. Oh, it's daughter. Oh, it's his daughter. The ex-One Direction singer, 31, walked arm in arm with the actress, 36, in Rome on Sunday, just days after they were seen kissing in a bistro in London's Soho. A source said they seem really into each other and make a gorgeous couple.
That is not news.
It's the Showbiz Romance exclusive.
It's exclusive, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But I feel as though... Do you think they had something else lined up that got pulled by legal and they had to quickly rustle up a front page?
I don't know, they do like a Showbiz Romance.
I don't know,
That's the
but
big
this one
thing.
is this really a Showbiz? Is Harry Styles still big?
I think he is with a certain cohort.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's sweet. I mean, nice.
I also don't know anything about her.
No, I don't either. Catwoman, I don't know. Was she that in a film? I don't know.
Was there a film called Catwoman?
There must have
A lot
been.
of this has passed me by.
It was a Batman film with Robert Pattinson, and she
Okay.
played Catwoman in it.
Sure, fine. Yeah.
But this helicopter crash,
Yes, very sad.
That
was
is
Isle of
awful.
Wight, wasn't it?
yeah, it was just on the Isle of Wight, and it was a lesson.
Yes.
3 people were killed, and there was only 4 in the helicopter. They don't know
Yeah.
who the survivor was, but they were airlifted to hospital.
Mm.
I mean, that is it crashed onto a fairly busy road as well. Helicopter crashes are not that usual, are they?
No, quite hard to do. You have to have a lot of money for a helicopter, and they are therefore treated with quite a lot of respect
Yeah.
and care. This, by the sound of it, was either 3 students being taught how to fly a helicopter, or a new student with friends and family in the back, which is quite common.
Is
you
it?
take a trial lesson. You are bought it by your children or your brother or whatever, and you get to fly a helicopter a little bit. You get to do a little scenic trip around wherever you are, and you get a few minutes playing with the controls, not particularly well, all very legal, all fun,
Yeah.
safe, and happens hundreds of times a day, all over the country, all over the world. They have similar things. It's all very fun. My dad did one once. I gave my dad one for his birthday, but obviously something went wrong.
But what's so interesting about this is it was a beautiful, clear day. The traffic investigation now are looking at this, but also it came down avoiding the road, which kind of makes me think that whoever took control was able to make sure it didn't land or crash into the road. I
Had
wonder if
some
these
control.
helicopters have dual controls.
They will. They'll both front seats will have
Right.
access to the controls. So you have to sort of say, I have control, you have control.
Right.
And so it's impossible to speculate really. There are some, seemingly from the photographs, some floats deployed, which would indicate, which you can manually do if you're going to land on water, which is a bit of an odd detail. But as you say, beautiful sunshine. No meteorological conditions that would lead to that kind of thing. So mechanical failure, pilot error, pretty much
just awful. You know, a bank holiday
conditions.
Monday, beautiful
Exactly.
day, and this disaster happens. But like I said, whoever took that down made sure that nobody else was hurt on the ground.
Because that's one of the aggravating factors of the Shoreham air crash, was that it landed on a road, and I think everybody is quite jittery about that. Obviously, if you have a light aircraft, a fixed wing aircraft, advice is to try and land it on the road if you can, because that's a good place to land without crashing into stuff. But if you know you're going down, it's a tremendous act of bravery.
It is a tremendous act of bravery
to try to minimise the damage to everybody rather than just yourself.
Yeah.
But again, there's no point speculating.
No, we don't. I've been in a helicopter crash.
Have you? A helicopter crash?
Yes.
A bad one?
A Lynx helicopter that 90 feet at a hover, filming out of the door, and one of the engines exploded.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of time.
No, 90 feet is quite low.
It's very low.
Yeah. Both a blessing and a curse in your case. 90 feet is survivable.
Well, it only if it was able to sit on its feet. If but with one engine exploding, it could flip. And so the Army Air Corps pilot saved us all. There were about 8 of us on board. And I know there was a major that was in there. Can't remember why he was there, but anyway, he never flew again. Ruined his career.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrifying. It was scary. I mean, there were flames and everything. I mean, it was pretty
It was
It's
Army
good.
Air Corps, you say? It was
Army Air
yeah,
Corps flying
interesting.
it. Yeah,
They are, I mean, they are trained for that kind of thing.
I got sent the
suppose.
bill
Of course.
as a joke.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was expensive.
Yes, they do cost a lot.
They do cost.
I went to an Army Air Corps Gazelle once.
They're tiny.
They're very, very
They're
small.
really small.
I fill one.
I flew in one of those in Bosnia.
Yeah.
And they are just not safe in war. Because
Yeah.
they don't fly very fast or very high.
Yeah.
And they're tiny, and the tail was packed with all my bags.
Yeah. They do that.
And it's like being in a tiny little mini.
It's the minimum viable machine to get into the air. Yeah, it's fascinating because you can see everywhere. It's good.
Yeah, there's a little bubble.
Yeah,
No,
it's terrific. They're
I did
good,
not like
good
it.
little machines. I think they're quite popular in other ways.
Yeah, probably.
But yes, that's right. It's very sad. I mean, like I say, it would be inappropriate to speculate as to why that happened.
It would, but it is nonetheless. It's a really.
And that's
really,
a little Robinson. There's nothing.
That's a tiny one. I looked at that and thought that's very small.
Yeah, they are small. I think it's the AR-44. I think, but either way, there are thousands of them out there. It's nothing. It's not that it was inherently unsafe.
Yeah.
It's not that they are inherently unsafe. But these things do occasionally happen. But they are, as you point out, very rare and the odd
Very
one
rare.
out.
Yeah.
Because helicopters are
Yeah,
flying all
they
over
are
the place.
safe, they are safe.
All of the time.
I've never wanted to try flying one.
No.
Because isn't it feet and hands?
It's feet and hands. I mean, normal planes are feet and hands as well, but I think you do have to think in an extra dimension. They're also hideously expensive.
Yeah.
They make fixed-wing aircraft seem quite cheap to run,
Yeah.
and I think that is quite prohibitive. And also, how many jobs are there for a helicopter pilot? You're either shooting at someone and getting shot at,
Yeah, it's true.
flying people to an oil rig, or doing this kind of stuff.
Or doing landing in Battersea for famous people.
Landing in Battersea for famous people, yeah, VIP transfers.
Yeah.
I did have a very interesting chat with a VIP helicopter pilot once,
Oh really?
and I can't say any of it on the radio.
Oh.
So maybe in another ad break, I
Nice.
can mention some of that. But yeah, they have a really interesting
The VIP
interesting job.
jobs.
They see a lot
Yeah.
behind the curtains.
I
If
bet
you
they
think
do.
a chauffeur sees and hears stuff, private jets and helicopter pilots are really, they know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, I bet they do.
They're paid quite well.
I love that. I love all that behind the scenes stuff. Just before we go to the break, The Independent there showing the young female journalist that was
Yes.
killed by the IDF. Remember Mariam, defender of truth and a free press. This is when Israel bombed a hospital in Gaza, killing dozens, including independent Arabia journalist Mariam Abu Daga. She was the very image of a free press, spreading truth, whatever the challenges and risks, with sincerity and courage. As we pay tribute to her, we condemn Israel's blatant violation of the international laws that protect journalism and Palestinians. So that's 5
very
journalists
sad.
killed. And the statement from Israel was, we don't target journalists as such.
Yeah, bit
I
spooky.
wonder what that meant. I mean, this is horrific. Having done this kind of work, it's horrible when you see people who are out there just trying to bring the truth to the world and they get slaughtered for it. And there is supposed to be special treatment of journalists for that very reason.
Yes.
So
It's a very bold front page for the.
it's a
for the
beautiful
India as
front
well.
page. It's a lovely image of her, actually. Right, quick break for me and Ed, but we'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here, and with me is Ed Wiseman, and we're turning our attention now to the Daily Telegraph. Starmer sides with courts over the people. So Farage sets out a plan for mass deportations. He's talking 5 flights a day, from what I remember, to save Britain from national emergency.
I feel as though this is a very one-sided account, given that it is Mr. Farage writing for the Telegraph. But how many flights a day are we talking? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
So that's 1,000 people, give or take, isn't it? Depending on the size of the plane, maybe 500. It's
But
not
to
really,
where?
Yeah. None of this really adds up. National emergency is a bit of, I don't know, it's hard to tell.
But it's the narrative of the moment, isn't it? And Keir Starmer is losing that war.
None of it, nobody's coming out of this looking good, I don't think. There are no clear winners. That's what this situation needs. That's what the conversation needs. Somebody to take some ownership of it and truth rather than just squabbling. I don't think anybody is.
But there's no plan, is there? I think that's what the public are becoming frustrated by.
Yeah.
Is that we see more and more boats coming across, and there doesn't seem to be any single plan to reduce the numbers or to remove from the country those that have no right to be here. And I think that everybody understands that there will always be people who need sanctuary in Britain, but we also know that many of the people that are coming across at the moment don't need that sanctuary, and I think people are rightly frustrated by that.
Yes, and then
somebody else will make it worse.
I think it is particularly bizarre because within every problem there's a grain of truth, but it's very easy to manipulate that.
It's very, at the moment it is.
At the moment it's incredibly easy.
Because it's the government's fault.
Yeah.
Because they're not coming up with anything that makes people go, oh right, well at least you're addressing it.
Yes.
And I think if people felt that it was being dealt with correctly, that there wouldn't be this anger and frustration.
That is true, but I do wonder, the people at the moment, there is an undue focus on the ECHR, which feels to me as though that message is just being abused and twisted, because the ECHR has very little to do with any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But lots of very powerful people want to get rid of it for lots of very bad reasons.
For lots of very bad reasons, and that actually won't solve this crisis at all.
Absolutely won't go near it, but it will cause a lot of others.
Yeah.
And so I do worry a little bit.
I worry about the ECHR because a lot of people go, oh, it's all because of Article 3, it's all because of this, it's all because of that.
Not really.
But actually it's not. What about this story? Public picks up Rayner's council tax bill. Now, this is the housing minister, amongst a couple of her briefs.
Yeah.
She just bought herself another house.
Yes.
£700,000 to £800,000 seaside property. The optics of this are really toxic, don't you think?
Well, the other one had the good grace to resign, didn't she?
Yeah.
And I think that was really the only honourable moment. What was her name? What was her name? I forgot.
After she put the rent up?
Oh, after she put the rent up.
I can't remember.
I can't remember her name. Either way, I did think, I mean, apologies if she's listening for not remembering her name, but that was probably the only honourable political story I've heard for the past 6 months.
Yeah, that she resigned because she threw her tenants out, then put the price up and invited
put the rent
out for
got
rent
caught
again.
and said, you know what?
Yeah. I've got to go now.
I've got to go. Fair enough.
But Angela Rayner, who benefited in her first purchase for her first home from the council tax sell-off, is now trying to tighten that. And she's just spent a good deal of money on another property whilst being you know, in charge of housing, and she's being accused of a bit of a cover-up on her tax affairs.
Yes.
And there's questions about her Ashton-under-Lyme is her primary residence given her role in Westminster. So she's got these two properties. Her Westminster property is paid for by us, but she's chosen the house that is her primary home as having the cheaper council tax.
Yes, which is, it could be a wheeze. It would be a wheeze if it was a wheeze. Far be it from me to accuse her of doing that.
Yeah, she said because she says it's her second home, the bill of £2,034 a year is covered by the government. This is expected to double to £4,000 under a new premium on second homes that came into force in April. So there's a rule that she brought in. She is not having to pay.
No. But then they all have their own rules. And I think it was...
But it just stinks, doesn't it? I mean, there's people still waiting on housing lists. And look, you know, should she be allowed to buy another home?
It's very
Probably.
bad optics.
It's bad. It's just
But
optics.
I think that this has been a problem with this government from about 2 months in.
Yeah.
The freebies, the tickets, the sort of snout in the trough approach. Which is obviously, I mean, in my view, still a step up.
And
from the
she's
last
got two Grace and Favour homes, don't forget.
Yeah.
You know, she's got the one in Westminster, and then there's the Dorneywood. Is it?
It does feel as though they are taking the mickey a little bit against a backdrop of plummeting quality of living.
It emerged at the weekend that Miss Rayner had bought a third home in May. Seafront property in Hove, East Sussex.
It feels like the sleaze of yesteryear. It does feel a bit expensive scandal.
It does, and to flip, which they do, all of them do. They flip their first home and their second home according to where they can get the best rent or where they can get the lowest council tax. Wouldn't we all, I suppose? But
I mean, would we? I don't know. It's hard for me to put myself in that position, but I feel as though if I was A, well remunerated enough, B, under that level of scrutiny from a very rambunctious press, and C, trying to position myself as a moral improvement on the last lot, who were just so awful, maybe I would think, hang on, I'm wedged. I'm going to take this £2,000 hit to do the right thing.
I can afford this. I'm not paying my own bills at the moment.
To publicly do the right thing. But the whole thing is just so sleazy. Like, yes, you can get away with it and maybe technically it's right, but it feels just so tacky.
Yeah. It does, and I think that we've all had enough of this sort of behaviour.
Yeah.
What about peers to be sacked if they fail to turn up for work?
I wonder if that'll ever happen. I feel as though this story comes around every now and again.
Yeah.
Do they still get about 300 quid for the day?
Just over now. It went up, didn't it?
It went up. 300 quid for the day just to kind of show up.
And fall asleep.
And have a doze and then go down to the...
Well, a lot of them were sort of clocking in and then going
to the
home.
pub.
Yeah.
I think they were just going downstairs to the bar, weren't they? Or just going over to the Red Lion for about 7 pints.
Yeah.
I think if there were... I mean, Lord's reform takes many forms. And I think this was something that Labour has always said that they will focus on, is reforming the House of Lords.
Yeah, but they all say that, and it never happens.
Yeah, because it's quite useful.
Yeah, because it's quite useful to sell or to give peerages to people who do you favours, and we know that I mean, that's another level of corruption. But they are saying that that peers should leave the Lords on the year that they become 80.
I think that's nuts. I think
because they're all about 80, aren't they?
80 is very old.
Yeah.
80 is very old to have that role in a constitutional way. I think is a little bit nuts. But at the same time, I think that politicians in general skew quite old. I think that there should be a
cut-off. There certainly should be in the US, because that seems to be a real problem.
That's what I was thinking. When you think of Biden and Trump combined, they were
so old.
So old.
Yeah.
And they have a strict...
I mean, in any other job, you'd have to retire, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pilots, obviously, they do a very important job, and out you go, because you're just a bit past it.
Yeah.
But they have a strict lower limit as well. You have to be a certain age before you can reach reach office there.
I don't think there's any issue with that.
Well, some of the young councillors are a little bit
that's
wet behind the ears. some
18
of the
and 19 year
yeah,
olds.
they were. That was a bit of a surprise, and I don't think they've got any business being.
No, I agree with that.
But I think there should be 18 and 19-year-olds in politics, but maybe not in senior leadership positions. I think that's.
Let's have a quick look at the FT again, looking at the journalists that died in the Israeli strike, and there were a lot of. I was watching the news earlier on today, and there was a doctor who said that that there was a first strike, and loads of medics ran towards.
Yeah.
The people who were injured, and then they struck again.
That's a textbook double tap.
Yeah, awful.
Which is their signature move at the moment, and which is claimed.
And just horrifying, really.
Yes, absolutely.
It's what terrorists do, isn't it? They bomb a place and then wait for the first responders.
Yeah, exactly. Then bomb it again.
Bomb it again.
Yes.
And Costa Coffee is selling. Coca-Cola is exploring the sale of the British hot drinks chain it bought in 2018 as soaring coffee bean prices and mounting competition from upmarket rivals dent the company's performance. I didn't even know that Coca-Cola owned Costa Coffee.
Yeah, I think it was quite a savvy buy at the time, but 2018 was a whole world ago.
Different world, yeah.
And I quite like Costa. I think it's fine. I think it's reasonably consistent. I think their shortbread is good.
Now knowing that it is part of Coca-Cola, I wouldn't buy it.
No, exactly. But then everything's part of Coca-Cola.
Well, you have to check. You have to
really check.
when I do my shopping now, it takes me forever.
You have to just keep zooming out until you see it's PepsiCo or it's Coca-Cola. Or
I know, but I do spend quite a lot of time making sure I don't buy American at the moment.
How do you cope with Coca-Cola in particular? Because they own everything.
Well, I just don't. For a start, I don't buy Coca-Cola. I don't buy Pepsi anymore. I used to like Pepsi, prefer to Coca-Cola, but I just don't buy them anymore. And then if it's something like Fanta, I'll find the British version, like Tango or something like
Orangina,
that.
I think, is
Orangina
legit.
is legit as well.
Nestle owns everything as well. I think.
Yeah, but Nestle, I don't mind Nestle. They're not American.
They're not American, but they had the baby milk scandal.
They did,
which for some reason I'm still worried about.
I can't take on too much.
No, you end up just sort of licking moss at the bottom of your garden.
Yeah, if I'm too principled. But Heinz has been the most difficult thing for me to replace, to be honest with you.
Heinz, yes, ketchup
and beans and soup. So I've just had to cut those out of my diet.
They've got an office just over the way, I think, haven't they? They're in the Shard. Are they in the Shard?
I think they are. Yeah. Yes, they are. Yeah. But no, that's been the hardest for me to try and
Branston beans.
Apparently so. I've not tried those.
They did a very peculiar marketing activation at my school about 20 years ago, and it was obviously very effective because I still think about it. I was handed a small tin of beans about the size of a tin of tuna to a baffled teenager. And it really obviously resonated with me because every time I hear beans, I think, oh yeah, Branston do them now. And it probably has been the case now for decades. But yeah, Branston do baked beans, and they were quite nice, as far as I remember when I was.
It's just you 16. Just get used to that Heinz flavour.
You do get used to it. Could you replicate it at home, do you think?
Possibly. It's tomato soup. Oh,
yeah, and ketchup as well.
Ketchup. I found a good replacement for the ketchup.
Oh, really? Who?
Yeah, Marks and Spencer.
M&S, yeah.
Honestly, it is the closest.
Sainsbury's organic mayonnaise is the best mayo.
Well, there you go. I'm going there then.
Out of nowhere.
I'm having that. I'm not buying any of those American goods at the moment. Right, let's take a quick break, shall we? On that note.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk, and it's Petrie, and with me, Ed Wiseman, transport and travel journalist. The Guardian for Tuesday. Again, global condemnation about the death of these 20 people, including the journalists. And then right at the bottom here, heat waves can speed up ageing.
Yes, that is partially true. I had a very brief conversation about this an hour and a half ago, and it speeds it up by something like 9 days if you have 4 heat waves in 2 years. So we're fine.
Oh, we are fine.
It's
okay.
very gentle.
But it
aging.
says the impact is broadly comparable with the damage smoking, alcohol use, poor diet or limited exercise can have on health.
Yeah, when you dig down, it's not that bad. I think there are lots of things we're doing to ourselves that matter more than heat waves. But as heat waves do ramp up,
Yeah.
especially in the south of Europe where they're happening more
I
and
wonder
more.
why they age us. I mean, it must be lack of fluid,
Probably
maybe.
loads of reasons. Probably is the UVAs or the UVBs or whatever gets you.
Yeah.
Plus, it's too hot for ages. Plus, you probably aren't eating properly, and you're stressed.
Yeah.
And you're sad.
It's sad in the heat.
Yeah.
Well, I think the summer's gone now.
The summer has gone. We're in autumn now.
We're in autumn now,
It
pretty
went
much.
like a flash.
Yeah, I think that today, actually Monday was the last hot, sunny day. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's going downhill.
I think so.
After here.
And then it will rain for 6 months.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's good for the garden.
It's good for the garden.
God, that's an old person thing to say.
We're
It
over that,
really
yeah.
is.
The ground needs it.
The ground needs
the
it.
lawn needs
We
it.
need
Yeah.
it. I don't have lawn, but I do have trees.
Do you have wildflowers?
No, I'm jungle.
You're
I've
jungle.
planted it all out to jungle.
Yeah.
I've got
well,
banana trees and
Okay.
fig stuff and lots of cactus and
Sure.
things like grasses,
Heavily fortified.
African grasses and things like
Sounds
that. It is nice. Yeah.
What do the birds make of that? They're a bit baffled.
They're a bit baffled by it, but
Sparrows
that's
turns
on
up,
one
yeah.
side of my garden. The other side of my garden, I've got jasmine.
Okay.
Huge amount of jasmine.
Nice,
so that's
recognisable
yeah. So that's they're all
vanilla
right. They can have that
jasmine,
bit. The Times. UK prepares to send 100 small boat arrivals back.
Mm-hmm.
Crossings continue after 212 reach Britain in a day.
Yeah.
More than 100 asylum seekers have been detained for deportation to France. And that's in this one in, one out. So although 100 will be leaving, 100 will be coming in. But those people would have gone through the legal process. I wonder if this will have any deterrence effect.
I don't think so at all.
No.
I think that we will continue to have this happen for a long time.
I think so too. Well, nothing's being done about it. Well, this is what we were saying, isn't it?
No, not really. Goodness me.
Dating data shows we love age gaps like DiCaprio. As Leonardo got older, his girlfriend stayed the same age. Observers mockingly coined Leo's law, which dictated that his relationships always ended before his lover turned 25. But he's
Yes.
now in a relationship with a 27-year-old, so that proves that wrong. But he is 50.
He is 50 now. He really is 50.
Well, men
and
like younger women, don't they?
I think that's kind of comes with the Hollywood thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But
probably.
again, what do they talk about?
I know. That
That's
honestly, that is the
really,
thing,
when
isn't
you
it?
Look at it.
Are they looking for conversation though?
But what's anybody get out of it?
I know.
It's sort of like when you see them on their boats. It's about what do you do? What do you
When
do
you've got
after-
to talk.
You've just got to talk, and when this is, you're just having a glass of wine with them, and like what? Nothing.
No,
It must
nothing
just
in
be
common.
bleak. It's so bleak. I think that's what, and I think that really is the elephant in the room with age gap relationships. I'm sure sometimes it's very fun, and sometimes people meet their match despite the gap. But there's something melancholy about the idea of being just bobbing around the Adriatic in your £25 million boat, making small talk with someone born in 2002. It's just, it's really, really tricky for me. I find it quite challenging. And
I must admit, I'd rather have a good conversation and a laugh
yeah,
with
precisely.
somebody who has the same points.
Exactly. Or just
of origin.
anything, just any
Yeah.
sort of relevance.
Yeah.
It strikes me as a really avoidable calamity to befall you in middle age. Just being stuck, just being absolutely stuck
with a very young person.
With a very, very young person who, yeah, it is bizarre. But maybe the whole thing it makes more sense. Maybe if I sat down with either of them, they'd be able to explain.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, actually, we do.
We have a great
love of chess.
Yeah.
And really, who needs to talk when you can
backgammon.
Yeah, precisely. Maybe they're really passionate about that.
Possibly.
Because he's been with her a while, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he has. Longer than any of his past ones,
yeah.
which is why she's managed to make it over.
Over the Big 2-5.
What was it that Ricky Gervais did, didn't he? He said that the film was so long, but that by the time it ended, Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend had aged out.
That's quite sad.
Yeah, I know. The Daily Mail for Tuesday. Farage unveils plan for mass deportations. I don't think it's a plan, really,
it's
at
just
the
noise.
moment. The Mirror, school racism crisis. Number of kids sent home from school due to racist behaviour has soared to record levels. That's worrying.
Youngest aged 4.
Wow. Well, they're learning that at home, aren't they?
You would think so.
At 4.
You would think so. 15,000 doesn't actually seem like that many. How many children are there in the country?
Yeah, there's
thousands. Most of them were on my train this morning. I think, 15,000 sounds fine.
Yeah, I mean, very young children anyway. When my son was at primary school, he didn't even see skin colour.
You don't really.
Genuinely. You know, he'd mention a friend, I'd say, which one's that? And he'd go, oh, it's the one in the red coat.
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't even...
I wonder if it's different outside London.
Maybe.
I wonder if it's different.
Maybe, actually, that's a good point.
That's black kid.
Now, the Daily Star, news with a wink. I will never forgive them for that new tagline. Exclusive news from the world of quantum physics. What's this story? Back to her future.
Yeah, I almost want to buy this tomorrow and turn to page 7 to find out what on earth they are talking about.
Austrian boffins, major breakthrough in time travel. Boffins reckon they are close to cracking the secret of time travel. There we go.
If possible, can we go back to Friday afternoon, please? Question mark.
Yeah.
And Beck's pasta battle on page 9, which is probably quite exciting, actually. That's Brooklyn, isn't it?
Yeah. He thinks he's a chef, doesn't he?
Better a chef than a photographer.
Yeah.
Because he did try that as well. But as you know, I have a lot of sympathy for that poor man. Yeah. No, I'm pleased the Star is still going. Lesser papers have fallen.
Yeah, I know. Look, the Star will keep going forever. What have you found in the papers?
In today's, just 1 in 4 talk at dinner table, and less than half make it that far.
What?
Do you talk at the dinner table?
Yeah, especially when I'm on my own.
Yeah, it's just muttering.
I talk to the dogs.
Britain is a nation of antisocial screen addicts who prefer to watch TV or scroll on their phones than talk to relatives at dinner. That, at least, is the conclusion of research that reveals the nation's rather uncivilised dining habits. Do you think that just 1 in 4 talk in dinner? I think
that would be odd, because that means that the other 3 are just sitting there ignoring you.
Yes, possibly, or just looking at the television. Or
no, I wouldn't. I can't. Well, I can't bear if I'm out for dinner with somebody as if their phone is on the table.
It's a bit weird.
I really find that annoying.
Unless they're waiting for a very urgent.
Yeah, or they've got kids. They've got a babysitter.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That's all right. But any other reason, no.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have dinner and have the telly on, would you?
I think people do. 66% of Britons are typically staring at a screen when they have their evening meal. But I have a theory that this research has been swayed by the kind of people who will get an email saying, do you want to take part in a survey? And they're just guzzling their lasagna and they think, yeah, fine. So because the people who are just chatting, regaling their relatives with anecdotes, don't get that. They're not going to be on their phone. They're probably not going
to be filling out the form.
But
I think it's very sad, actually. I mean, I do see people in pubs or in restaurants, and you must do as well if you're out, that appear to have no conversation.
No.
And they're both, and I think, what's the point of that? In fact, what's the point in spending money on a meal that you're just
not really paying attention?
Not really paying attention either to the food nor the people that you're with.
I do notice sometimes people like that. I travel quite a lot for work, and so I spend a lot of time dining by myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I will scroll through my phone or I'll text
that's all
someone
right
or
if you're on
whatever.
your own.
And but I see other couples or people who I think are couples. I think, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah.
Like in the same way that I am concerned about Leonardo DiCaprio. I just think, what are you talking about? But I have caught myself with colleagues or with other people, and I've been on my phone and they've been on their phone, and we're fighting some completely invisible crisis. But to the outside world,
It looks like you're just being miserable.
Just like a dead relationship.
Yeah.
But actually, she's sort of a colleague, and we're both working. And so
I suppose that's...
So sometimes I judge, and I have to hold myself back from judging, or sometimes I sort of I lament the demise of conversation, and then I realise I'm projecting a story onto a couple who might not even be a couple, might not know or like each other, might be very busy, might be texting each other about me.
That's what they do.
Look at that idiot. Why is
That's
he
what
looking
they're
at this?
doing.
Look at your phone. Quickly check your phone. That guy in the green shirt. Why is he dribbling, looking at us?
Ed Wiseman, thank you very much
Thank you for having me.
indeed. I know you're off on your travels, so we won't see you for a while, but we'll see you
end of September.
End of September, marvellous.
Fabulous,
We'll see you
and I'll
then.
come back with more stories.
Excellent.
From foreign restaurants.
Great stuff. Just make sure you judge lots of people and tut.
I will.
Ed Wiseman, travel and transport journalist. Right, coming up, a special hour for you now with the very wonderful Andy Lound, our spaceman. He will be in the studio to talk through all things space for the next hour and to take your calls. So if you've ever thought, I really want to know about something to do with space, then give him a call. We'll be here waiting for you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. As we had the bank holiday weekend, and as we all miss Howard Hughes, and as I'm fascinated by all things space, I've got my spaceman in the studio. Andy Lound is here, all the way from Birmingham. Came all the way down for us to talk space, because we always run out of time, actually.
Yes, we do.
Because I'm so curious about it, but I'm not I'm not very up on it. So I like to ask you what I think are fairly simple questions. And that's what I was saying earlier on, is that there's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to space. There really isn't, because it is such a complicated thing that we're only as a species beginning to understand it. So it's hardly surprising that people may have what they think are stupid questions, but actually really are not.
Somebody might ask a question, and strangely enough, they think it's stupid. It may be a question that no one has asked before.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole field of and that has happened.
Yeah.
Happened to Carl Sagan.
Really?
A student asked him a daft question once about one of the moons of Jupiter, and he went, "Oh, that's interesting."
Oh, wow.
Let's have a look at that and find out, and therefore opens a whole can of worms.
Yeah, I just find the whole system is fascinating. So listen, if you've always had a question and you're sitting there thinking, oh, it might be a bit basic, or it might be a bit simple, or it might be a bit daft, don't worry about it, because if you're thinking it, then a lot of people are thinking. That's what I always think when I ask questions, is if I'm thinking it, then there'll be other people that are thinking it. So there's no such thing as a stupid question. Just pick up the phone and ask Andy, and if he can answer it, he will. If he can't, he'll be honest. 0344 499 1000, and you can also text. And it's also, if it's about aliens, look, I'm just gonna launch into one straight away with Andy about alien spacecraft. So 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at national rate, but we do call you back. And you can text talk and then your message to 87222. And some of you have already done that. But where I wanted to kick us off, Andy, was that a Harvard scientist, who is nobody's fool, believes that an interstellar comet could be alien craft, and he said we should put all possibilities on the table. Scientists are watching a newly discovered object in space. It's sort of cigar-shaped, isn't it?
No, this one isn't.
Oh, this one
That was
isn't.
the previous one, Oumuamua, which he also suggested was an alien spacecraft.
Turned out not to be.
Turned out not to be.
Most of them agree it's a comet, but not all of them. Harvard scientist who believes he's seen proof of alien life before suspects this object may instead have alien origin. This is Professor Avi Loeb.
That's right. He's an interesting character. He's an expert in various fields in space science, of course. And one of the things he was really interested in was of course sending very small probes to other systems for us to study. And he wrote good stuff on this. But now we've got interstellar objects coming into our system. This is the first one that we really talked about was Oumuamua, which was an asteroid, which didn't originate in our solar system. It came from outside our solar system. We don't know how it. There's lots of junk.
How it got here.
There's lots of junk flying through space. It just passed through the system. We always suspected that this must happen, but that was the first one we identified. There was a second one which was identified by Borisov, which was a comet, and now we've had a third object which is identified as 3I Atlas. 3I, the third interstellar object, and it's been identified. Now, interestingly enough, Avi Loeb looked at it and has analysed it. He said, oh, well, its flight path is interesting. Its flight path is in the plane of the ecliptic. The plane of the ecliptic, that's essentially the line of where all the planets orbit the sun, more or less in line. Principal planets generally are in that line of the ecliptic. Other objects, asteroids, comets and things, are always at an angle to the ecliptic, and it's very different. Pluto is, for instance. That's why one of the reasons they reclassified it as a dwarf planet. Now, you say, oh, it's quite interesting how it's going through the system, because if I was going to send a spacecraft to another system, I would actually put it on that angle, especially if you're interested in the Earth, because it's going to fly quite a distance away from us, not even close, 114 million miles from the Earth.
Yeah.
So it would be a good place to put it, and also perhaps to drop off little probes to study our system. And also looking at the object, the way it's moving, it's not really moving in the way we would have expected. And he's wrote, I mean, him and the Harvard people have written a paper on it. But let's come now back to the land of living, okay? Let's come to real science. I like Avi Loeb. He's a very clever man, but, and here comes the but, and I said this on another media channel, and it was a thing that Carl Sagan quoted once from somebody else, pointing out that people often mistake knowledge for intelligence. Don't do that. He says Harvard, brilliant, he's Harvard, he's academic, he's brilliant. but sometimes you've got to start looking at the reality here. And the data that's actually coming back from this object, and we've had some good images from the Hubble telescope now, are showing it is a comet. It's an interesting comet, but remember, it's an extrasolar comet. It hasn't from our solar system. It's an interstellar object, which means when it entered our solar system, it entered an area called the Oort cloud, which is the surrounding debris of our solar system, and it took 8,000 years from the Oort cloud to where it is now. That doesn't include where it's been travelling from before then. So it's probably been going through space for hundreds of millions of years. So if this is a robotic spacecraft, who's it going to be transmitting to? Those people are going to be long gone by then, almost certainly, or they wouldn't be able to communicate with it. And when you actually looked at the data of it, there is a coma forming of it. This is where we talked about this the other day. Sublimation, the ice is turning from a solid to a gas without a liquid stage. And it's starting to see that. It's not doing it in your traditional sense of a comet, but having said that, from my point of view, and planetary bodies were my thesis, so I really was interested in these small objects. I would expect that, because as it's travelling for millions of years through space, space isn't completely empty. It's full of dust and all sorts of material, and these would actually be gathered on it and slowly build up a crust on the outside, which would freeze in the vastness of space and actually act as a barrier. As it's now flying through the system for the first time, probably in millions of years, it's going to get warmed up by the sun. And one side of it now has started to sublimate, but the other side is remaining solid and dark. So you've got this very strange coma appearance, not what we'd normally have with our comets, but you wouldn't, because our comets are slightly different. They haven't picked up all this garbage. He also suggested it was going to be extremely large. Well, we've got the new data coming through now. I think that if we get the data right, they're estimated between 0.32 to 5.6 kilometres, which is a fairly average sized comet.
That doesn't sound
small,
massive.
very small body. He was suggesting it was a huge body at first, but we've got no evidence to support that. We've got some strange effects coming off it. We have a tail which is blown back normally. We're not seeing that at the moment, but then again, it isn't really close enough to the sun, and it's not going to get very close to the sun to actually get this effect. But we're seeing a lot of activity on the front end with jets coming forward, and they are unusual. They're nothing that we've seen before really on our own comets, but this is an interstellar body. It's travelling at a fantastic clip, 130.
And how do we know it's interstellar?
Because we can trace back its orbit by looking at its orbit. When you start observing an object, same thing we always did with Herschel did when he discovered Uranus, your favourite planet, Uranus in 1781, and any other comet. You make 3 major good observations. You can then actually track its position, and
that's just physics. That's just the
just
angle
mathematics.
and
It's basic
mathematics.
In fact, it's basic sums actually. It's
Okay.
actually fairly straightforward to do. One of the tests you do when you're doing astronomy, when you're learning, is you get to do this. And I ended up measuring half the universe. Got very excited with doing it. And you're surprised how accurate you can measure the track of a planetary body. And once you've actually measured its track, you say, this is interesting. This isn't simple circular orbit, an elliptical orbit, or a parabolic orbit. It's much wider than that. And you're going, that's interesting. So it hasn't been orbiting the sun. It's entered the solar system and is going to fly past the sun. That's interesting. So therefore it came from outside the system. Plus its speed, 130,000 miles per hour. Phenomenal speed this thing is travelling at. It's picked up speed because it's getting close to the sun. The sun's going to therefore give it a bit of a slingshot because of that, and it's going to increase and fly out of our solar system. So when you track it all, you can find out it doesn't belong in this system at all. Oumuamua was the same, very exciting object. And again, Avi Loeb said, it's changing its position slightly, and we're not seeing the usual coma as a comet. Well, a comet, an object that's been travelling through deep space like that, everything is going to freeze on its surface. You're going to have all sorts of material there, and as soon as it gets slightly warmed up, even the light material that would normally stay frozen in the depths of space will suddenly start to sublimate, and suddenly you get gas, and because once you have the gas erupting from it, it pushes it slightly. It acts as a thruster and moves it. So that's going to happen, and therefore it is going to be quite erratic, and you're not going to expect it, and that's what's going to happen. So there's nothing Avi Loeb has said that can't already be explained, and it must be said, going online, checking with different scientists, especially scientists in Britain as well, have been going, this is ridiculous now. And you say, yes, but it's worth speculating. There's nothing wrong with that. Speculating, there could be aliens, a probe might pass through our system at some point. That isn't an issue.
Well,
with
one day he's
speculation.
going to be right, isn't he?
But don't
possible.
take no evidence. There's no evidence
Yeah.
here, and you've got to have the evidence to support it. Speculation is good because it gets us talking about Harvard, it gets us talking about Avi Loeb, talks about his book, his papers. I don't want to be a bit too disrespectful, but I'm sorry. It looks to me more
But
like
already it's been disproven. And when it goes out of goes past the sun and is slingshot out, can we trace it?
we'll
to
track it
another-
as far as we can track it, but it'll eventually disappear from our view entirely. We won't be able to track it forever, and it'll be gone then. And all we can do is just roughly get a good idea of the direction it's heading in. But it's unlikely we'll ever see it again once it's passed through the system. And again, this was the thing which I've always been, when I worked with the Planetary Society, it was something I was very pushing for, is that the world, Russia, America, China, Japan, they all should be coming together here and having, sitting in hangars, space probes with basic equipment on. So if something like this happens, right, get it onto something like SpaceX now is brilliant. Get it out there to try and intercept it somewhere and take some images for it, because everything is bespoke, everything is specific. Why don't we have a standard set of spacecraft sitting waiting, basic instruments, cameras,
So we can send them to intercept.
so we could
these
intercept
things.
just to have a closer look at
Yeah.
something. It would be worth it. And if you're mass producing these, the cost collapses, so you could put a load of them down there. And we do have big space rockets now that could suddenly fire them up there. And I think that would be an opportunity. Really, it's a throwaway spacecraft, but that's fine because that's what we want to do. But just to get a close look, because the data we could get from this comet would be breathtaking. The comet
it's
itself
another universe,
is probably older than our sun. It's older than our solar system. You know, what a thing to discover.
I mean, extraordinary. We're just going to take a quick break, Andy, and when we come back, we've got a question. We've got a caller, so we'll be taking that in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here, and with me in the studio as a special treat for you is Andy Lowndes here, our spaceman, and talking all things space. So if you've got any questions, don't be afraid if you think they're dumb, because they won't be. Just give us a call, 0344 499 1000. Many of you are texting in your questions. You can continue to do that as well. Put the word talk and then your message to 87222. Now, Andy, we've got a call that's come in from America. It's from Michigan. Jacob. Hello, Jacob. How are you?
Hi, Petrie.
How are you? All right?
No hear from you.
It's nice for you to call. How's Cindy?
Oh, she's sleeping right now, but yeah, she's doing all right.
Good. Well, send her my love, won't you? Jacob,
I will.
Andy's here for you. Ask your question.
Yeah, my question is, well, a lot of people think this isn't going to be done, but I see what I want to talk about is the black hole. Now, the black hole I kind of see as a wormhole to the other side of the universe. So what I'm wondering is if we can create something like the black hole, but not quite the black hole where it destroys everything, but is able to have the same density because, it destroys everything. So if you can create something that doesn't destroy something and shoot it through the wormhole.
So to use the black hole as a wormhole to travel through.
Yeah, light years ahead of faster than light.
Wow.
Yeah, because nobody knows what the black hole is. It just destroys everything that goes inside it. But if you have, maybe we can create something strong enough to withstand that black hole to find out what's on the other side, or what the black hole rather is.
Yes, I mean,
because eventually we're going to have the technology to do space travel. We already do, but further into space than we already have. So like in all the sci-fi movies, they always go through these wormholes, don't they, to different parts of sort of speeds up the journey. The folds in space.
The issue with the black hole is when they say it's a destroyer. The issue is its gravitational forces there are so strong. Light can't escape. So light can't escape. The escape velocity for it exceeds the speed of light. So therefore, light can't escape. Therefore, it goes black. It's black. And because of that, and you can't exceed the speed of light, nothing can ever come out of it. It would be the same way of going into it. If you went into it, you could never come back out. But if you could create a wormhole, which has been, some theories have been idea for this, where you could actually therefore use it as a link between either ourselves and another part of the universe. The latest theories which are coming out about what they think black holes could be is black holes, we think our universe is actually formed from a black hole. So we came out of a white hole, which would have been technically the Big Bang. And a parent black hole is in another universe, which means that all the black holes that we're seeing in our universe are actually gateways to they actually formed another universe somewhere else. But it would always be a one-way trip. It's the strength of the gravitational forces which are there, which are the real problem, and we can't even conceive of us being able to create anything that could actually survive doing that. The only alternative to that could be the possibility of extremely strong magnetic fields, and this is an area which is now becoming more and more interesting because magnetic fields are becoming more and more important. They always were important, but they're becoming even more important than they've ever been before now because they're looking at
kind of like an anti-gravity type of deal.
There is no such thing as an anti-gravity deal at the moment. There is just no such thing on the books. It is there's a lot of theories flying around there at the moment of what's possibility, but it's still always very much the realms of science fiction and theory without the practicality of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
But it's an interesting question.
It is.
You say that nothing comes out of a black hole.
Yes.
But we did.
We came out of the white hole, which was at the other end of it, and therefore that's it. We've never found white holes, for instance, in our universe to show other things. And this is where some people are coming up with the idea, think, that's because the original white hole into this universe was what formed our universe in the first place. That's where all the very fine atomic particle, all the very basic building blocks, not even to atomic particles yet, the very fine parts of the universe splued out and then all reformed. So what you would have had is a black hole in another universe, sucking material in because the gravity gets too close, pulls those things, it rips them apart into their component parts, and then it gets spewed out into another universe, which then forms that universe, and they all come together again and start forming all the material into that universe. And when stars collapse and form black holes and pulls more material in, that in turn spews it out and creates another universe, and so on. So you have this infinite set of universes. So if we could even get this possibility of going through, the problem would be the gravitational forces are so strong, no matter what you could do, you would be destroyed and split into your component atomic particles.
Right.
And therefore you couldn't survive through it. If we could create something smaller to create a wormhole, which was the idea, which is a good one. The problem is, which we've got, is the amount of energy we would need to create it in the first place. And that's always been the problem. There isn't enough energy in our galaxy for us to be able to create such a thing.
Wow.
Because the energy levels are so phenomenal. And then you've got to control that.
Yeah.
You've got to put it in a control format. So how do you control that? And that becomes a difficult thing as well. So far, sadly, although it's a great idea, and people who watch, remember the Disney film Black Hole, which actually is a very, very good film, very interesting, where you see them pass through. And I think you had The Day After Tomorrow or something. It was a very science fiction thing that Jerry Anderson did, which was interesting, where they passed through. It's still the realms of science fiction, even though on paper, mathematically, wormholes should, in theory, exist in nature, and in theory we could create one. But it's the amount of energy we would need to do it is just off the planet. It's just off the scale at the moment.
So there you go. Good theory,
it would be an
Jacob.
alien technology.
So we need alien technology. We're back to the alien.
That's a shortcut. I like.
Yeah. We need some other technology. Like you said, though, it's that amount of power, and then us being able to control it.
That's it's down to everything.
But
yes.
are these black holes and white holes formed in where the space folds?
It happens when there's a collapse, usually of a star. And a star collapses.
Yeah,
and therefore,
it's usually started by the sun, if I remember correctly. The sun goes nuclear, I guess.
That's right. It collapses in on itself, and when it sucks more material in, the mass of the object becomes so much, and it becomes actually dense because it gets close. But the mass is so great that the escape velocity to escape that gravity exceeds the speed of light, so it goes black. At that point, it's very dangerous indeed. But only if you're close enough to it.
Right.
I mean, you're far away. You can just stare at it.
And how many black holes are there in our universe?
So far we've identified what we think is several thousand, and we've imaged two reasonably well. They also think there is micro black holes, which is something which is quite remarkable. It's all about the density of the material when it's all folded in, and they think that even at the atomic level this could happen. At the beginning of the universe, for instance, when hydrogen first began to form, the hydrogen was in such dense clumps, instead of them collapsing and forming stars, they went straight down and formed super black holes at the beginning of the universe, which is something they'd never anticipated until the Webb telescope looked out there. And that's the thing. And they thought, well, wait a minute, if that could happen, could this happen at a small level? And suddenly realised mathematically, yes, it could. So you could have small particles all collapsing into a very tiny space and forming a mini black hole which could exist. These things could be all over the place, and it could be passing through the Earth, could be passing through all sorts of places as well. And some of the anomalies we might see in space may be caused by mini black holes. Wow. So black holes are becoming more and more interesting. And I think it's very fascinating that black holes, as everybody seems to think, is a very modern concept. It isn't. The first concept of a black hole goes all the way to the 18th century with Erasmus Darwin talking about an object, which he didn't call it a black hole, but in his poem he actually talked about where gravity would collapse in on itself to such a degree that everything was brought into it, which is quite remarkable for a man who could think. But he understood gravity, he understood Principia, and he understood Newton's gravitational laws, and he just took it to the next level, an extreme, and that's what we're doing.
And that's what we're discovering.
That's what we're discovering to be quite correct, yeah. But it's far more.
But with thousands of black holes in our universe, are we ever likely to be close to one?
No, not at this moment in time. No. There's no stars which are big enough to cause us a real problem, which would collapse in on itself eventually to create that. So we're quite safe in our part of the galaxy at the moment. So we're quite pleased with that. That's quite useful, because it's a good point you've made actually. Because for instance, if our solar system was in a position where only just a few light years away there was a massive star which is going to collapse in itself, and you suddenly think, well, wait a minute, this could be interesting.
That would create a black hole.
It would have the shockwave of it forming in the first place could be dangerous, and of course then it would start pulling material around it, and it would take a long period of time, but the system, gravity works well, and it would slowly draw.
And it's inevitable, gravity.
Gravity is what drives the
Yeah.
whole universe.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's technically a weak force because we can pull our hands up and down from it, but in its extremes, it's very, very powerful indeed. It pulls and twists everything together. And you're right about it curving and warping space, because you look at a black hole and the pictures you always see, it's almost two-dimensional, where you see it spinning around, things falling in. No, it's a sphere. So it's a spherical effect that's taking place.
Wow.
And of course, light gets bent because of the gravity, and that's why you got if you see the film Interstellar, it's the best ever representation of a black hole as you would physically see it. In fact, that film is so good, the images from that film are being used in physics classes to show them this is how yes, because they got the computer illustrations right, and they're showing what it would look like and the effects that you get of light being bent and warped around it. It's quite astounding, really.
Jacob, do you watch those sort of sci-fi programs where they go through these wormholes and black holes and things like that?
Yeah, I watch a lot of sci-fi.
I like sci-fi.
I've always been a science kind of person, so I always think of things and throw it out there, like parallel universes and stuff like that.
Well,
I mean, really interesting.
Yeah.
Jacob, have you watched something called the three-body problem?
The three what?
Three-body problem.
No, not yet.
You've got to watch it. As one sci-fi geek to another, you will love it. It's fascinating, and it's about the physics of three astral bodies are totally unpredictable. That two are predictable, but a third one, you cannot predict the other two, the movement of the other two with the third one, and it's a massive physics question. And this whole program, the three-body problem, and they're just about to do series 2, so watch it now. It's brilliant.
Okay, I'll take that into consideration.
It's really, honestly, it's mind-blowing. It will make you, to begin with, you don't know what the heck's going on, but then it starts to sort of make sense to my little fragile brain. Jacob, great to talk to you. Thank you for calling.
Thanks, Jacob. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell Cindy that you said hi.
Yeah, send her my love. Hope she's doing well. Thank you. Interesting, isn't it, the black hole? And the fact there are thousands of them.
Yeah, I mean, black holes are becoming more and more important, because they used to think that black holes generally were formed way after the beginning of the universe when stars collapsed. But now they're seeing, Webb telescope is saying, wait a minute, there's primordial black holes here, they formed earlier. How did that happen? And then they found out...
So it's like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and they suddenly realised, oh, wait a minute, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If you've got all this hydrogen, and remember, nothing had spread out a bit, very dense. Could all this hydrogen collapse, not into a star, but straight into a black hole? And when they did the maths, they think, oh my goodness, it could.
Yeah.
And therefore the black hole has got nothing else. It's used all up. It's got all the material it's got, so it just hangs around there waiting for the next generation of stars from somewhere else to form before they can ever feed again. So it is quite fascinating.
And does a black hole go through to somewhere?
Well, this is the point. The material gets broken down into the very tiniest particles possible, and we think now it appears out, creates a new universe, and that's at the end of it is where the new universe is, where the white hole would be. We've never seen a white hole, so we assume the only white hole in this universe was probably what formed this universe.
The universe.
We came out of that. It's great.
So there'd be one white hole per universe?
Yes, we'll never see it, of course. It's not possible, because it's right at the eons of time.
But lots of black holes that could have
the black holes which now form new ones somewhere else. So we've got... This is where you talk about multiple universes. It does look like that's now possible again.
And parallel universes?
Yes, there could be. Why not? It's absolutely, why not? I mean, that's what makes the whole thing very exciting now.
So there's another Earth?
There could be parallel. I mean, there's that...
If a black hole spewed out exactly the same atomic...
That's a great point you've made, because we're not sure... We always want to know, why does the physics work in this universe the way it works? Why couldn't it have been, say, negative energy or something else? Then they suddenly realise, well, maybe the other universes do work on a different physics, depending how they were formed. And suddenly that now makes sense. Also, in theory, we should have annihilated ourselves. The universe shouldn't exist, because there should be equal amounts of antimatter as well as matter. Therefore, we should have not existed. But we're not. We're biased slightly towards matter, and therefore we exist. Why has that happened? Well, if we formed out of a black hole...
Could be fluke.
And it would be a fluke, because a black hole would have formed that, because the matter that's coming into it, of course, would have dictated what was happening. And they found where you've got all particles have partners, but in a black hole situation, the partner doesn't have to fall into a black hole, just one of the particles does. And therefore, that would sway the handedness of the universe that's formed after it. So we could have negative.
So it's all just random.
Random stuff, yeah. It's just to look at the draw really and see how it goes.
I think that's something that we can't cope with, though, isn't it? We can't believe that all of this is just random.
A lot of people have trouble dealing with that.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense.
I think it makes more sense.
It makes absolute sense, really. I mean, because if I thought of something like, I know we're going off topic here, but if we thought that this British government, for instance, was by design, it's not. It's random.
Yeah.
Because if it's by design, it's more scary.
Yeah, it's even worse. Andy and I are going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Kevin. So stay where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you, and with me is fabulous Andy Lowndes, and he's here as our spaceman, talking us through all things space. Excuse me. Just before we go to the calls, Sarah near Plymouth has messaged and said, if we travelled into space with an analogue tuner TV and a radio, would we see or hear old broadcasts from Earth?
Great question.
So that's about the length of time that it takes for signals to travel.
Yes. In principle, yes, but in reality, no. No, because we can't travel faster than the speed of light, so we couldn't catch up. But in theory, if we could catch up the old signals, yes, we could. And this is one of the most interesting things about us broadcasting out. This show's going out into space, for instance, and will continue to travel. And it's a reasonably high-energy broadcast. The first high-energy broadcast transmission that left the Earth, which is the one that's most likely to be picked up by any extraterrestrials, was the opening of the 1936 Berlin Olympics by Adolf Hitler.
Ooh, how unfortunate.
And that's likely to be the first signal anybody ever picks up from extraterrestrials.
Simply because of the power that was attached to the, signal.
The signals prior to that are probably too weak, and they probably won't pick those up. But other things will be transmitted into space, of course, and they'll be picking those signals up. I mean, the closest star to us is 4.2 light years, so it would only take 4.2 years for it to get there. And interestingly enough, a planet has been discovered going around the Proxima Centauri system now, so you never know if they've already been tuning in. But yes, all our little signals and going out there, all the football matches, and they could be tuning in and looking at us, thinking, "Oh,
that's
my
quite
goodness."
a lot of noise, isn't it, from this
It's a
planet?
lot of noise from this planet. This planet is very, very, very noisy.
Very
indeed,
noisy.
Yes. And the high-powered signals that we're transmitting out, and we have done really since the 1960s, really good power systems going out, there'll be all sorts of interesting signals to be picked up. So we're leaking lots of it. However, there is a caveat to this. With the Voyager spacecraft, two Voyager spacecraft, two Pioneer spacecraft flying out of the solar system, the Voyagers have transmitted data back, and they're getting some interesting data back because now they've passed the position where the solar radiation is predominant, and they're picking up extrasolar radiation, cosmic rays and forces coming into them. And they've noticed that some of the signals that we're transmitting out, in fact, is hitting a barrier almost and bouncing some of the signals back. So it is quite possible that some of the signals might not actually be leaking out into deep space. Well, it's just simply radiation and material coming from deep space. Supernova explosions, black hole mergers, all these kind of things throw a lot of radiation into space at various wavelengths. And they enter into our solar system. The sun's radiation goes out and it hits, and it causes a bow shock around the solar system, which is quite remarkable. But it can act as a bit of a barrier, blocking signals which are going out. And they were wondering just how many signals do actually go out into deep space, which has a knock-on effect for us listening to extraterrestrial signals, for instance. Maybe that similar thing happens in their solar systems, in which case they'd have to be using different forms of transmission for us to pick it up. High-powered microwave, which we're using now, high-powered microwave ourselves, or perhaps some sort of other laser communications.
And that can go through the radiation.
So our general radio signals might not be making it as far as we probably thought, because it could be being bounced back. But these are things we just don't understand or didn't know until we actually go out and take a look.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Right, Kevin is on the phone. Kevin in Basingstoke. He's got a deep question for you. Kevin, morning.
Morning.
How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. You?
Good. I'm very well, thank you. Right, Andy's here for you.
My question is, what is dark matter, dark energy? And also, has there only been one big bang? I mean, how do we know we were the first Big Bang?
Yeah,
or there won't be another one.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes. Okay. Okay. What is dark matter, dark energy? This is quite exciting. It's they call it dark because it doesn't actually give out any light or doesn't seem to reflect any light at all. They've been able to detect what they think is an effect of a force, and they've called it dark energy. One example for this, for instance, is the Hubble telescope's observations of the universe. And we're back to Erasmus Darwin in the 18th century who predicted this, which is kind of disturbing. The universe is expanding, and the idea was what rate is the universe expanding? The Hubble telescope, when it was making the observations, found yes, it is expanding and slowing down, and then suddenly it speeds up, so it's expanding more quickly. And the force that's causing this isn't a pulling force, say like gravity pulling it back. It's a force that's actually pushing out the universe. And because they can't actually really define what it is, it's been called dark energy. And dark energy and dark matter are entwined because all the matter in the universe that we add up to get the effects of gravity and everything, we come up short. There's something missing. And whatever it is that's missing isn't being detected, so it's dark, and therefore we called it dark matter.
So it's an unknown
It's an unknown. Oh yeah, it's a great one, the scientists. Now, there's some papers been published lately which are quite interesting and pointing out that this is all a ruse, in the fact that they've misinterpreted a lot of the data. And some of this is coming from the Webb telescope, looking deep in space, suggesting in some cases we might be able to explain away these effects without introducing dark energy or dark matter. But the arguments between the scientists are unbelievable at the moment. The bottom line is dark energy, dark matter is a term used for forces that we can measure, but we don't understand what it is that's causing it. It's as simple as that.
So it's got
really.
no root to the energy. There's
No, we don't fully understand. So we call it dark because it's literally dark. There's nothing visible to pick up on, and there's nothing we can actually measure. But we can measure the effects of it. In fact, gravity is very similar to that. We can't physically see gravity, but we can measure the effects.
There's a lot of things we
gravity.
can't see that we've been able to name.
That's correct. And then gravity is quite interesting because although we measure gravity, we've got some great mathematics to explain gravity quite well. We don't really still fully understand what it is. We know it's related to a mass of a planetary body, or mass of anything for that matter, but we're not fully certain exactly what we're looking at. And that's why they were looking at quantum physics to have a look at what is it that gives something its mass, because that in effect is helping it push its gravity.
So there's no way of identifying what dark
not as yet.
matter
That's why they're spending an absolute fortune on new equipment to have a look and try to make more finer measurements. And the way you're doing it is you're measuring the movement of all the galaxies interacting with each other to get the calculations for the gravitational effects, the calculations for all the mass of the planetary bodies of all sorts in there. That includes the dust and gas as well, which has an effect, and try to find exactly what we're looking at.
But is dark matter like a black hole? That it's not even visible. It's just a force that creates something, and we don't know what the origin of the force is.
They think the matter itself could be very, very tiny particles, but there's a lot of it having an effect on the universe, but we can't actually see it as yet. So it's one of these things where they're using it to explain away the observations we're making. We're measuring these effects, but we don't know what's causing the effects.
That's fascinating, Kevin.
Yes, I suspect Big Bang as well. The Big Bang, yes, we've had one Big Bang, and what the suggestion was being in the past that we've had a Big Bang, everything flies out into the universe. It slows down due to the force of gravity pulling on everything. It then collapses in on itself again, eventually combining all the matter in the universe in one tiny speck, which then would explode for a second Big Bang. Now, we think that may have happened, if we go back a bit in time, we thought that may have happened a number of times. However, the latest thinking is that is not the case. We believe the expansion of the universe, thanks to this dark energy accelerating the universe as an expansion, will mean there will not be a second Big Bang. There was only the one which formed this universe. There will not be another one, and we'll just expand.
In this universe,
and we will expand forever.
So I'm going to ask the question that is a basic question. If we're expanding, what are we expanding into?
Nothingness, absolute nothingness.
No, there can't be nothing.
There can, absolute nothingness. Nothingness, absolute nothing.
And this nothing goes on for infinity?
It has to, because it's nothing. There is nothing. It's hard for us to understand nothingness, absolute nothingness, and the universe
I don't know,
itself.
I've been out with a couple of men that I could explain that. So we are, in order to expand, we have to expand into something, and we're expanding into
no, well,
nothing.
You've got to take it as a balloon. If you get a balloon and you put little dots on it, they're the galaxies, and you inflate the balloon expands and all the galaxies start to move around with each other. The galaxies are tied in to the balloon. Those illustrations are tied into the physical structure of the balloon itself as it expands. That is our universe itself, and it's expanding into absolute nothingness. There is nothing. It isn't a room to expand into. It's just absolute nothing. Zilch.
Kevin, can you get your head around
the
that?
Universe.
No, it's quite hard, isn't it?
Oh my God!
I mean, how do we know there's more than one universe?
We don't. It's still a theory. Not a theory, it's a hypothesis. The theory is a proven thing. Hypothesis isn't. We're still hypothesizing about this. One of the reasons they're thinking this is quite possible is the way the galaxies move themselves, the way they move around. It's almost as if there's an external effect taking place. One of those external effects could actually be the interaction with a parallel universe. Could be interacting with our universe, and that's an interesting explanation. Interesting enough, dark energy could actually be that interaction that's taking place with parallel universes surrounding us. So that could be an explanation.
If there's only been one Big Bang,
Yes.
what created the other universes?
Ah, yes. This is where we came to the black holes, and the black holes themselves that in our universe, all the material gets broken down to the very fine atomic particles and components of those particles. It gets spewed out at the other end of the black hole into what's called a white hole, and that forms another universe.
Into nothing.
Into nothing, yes.
Yeah, so it just creates...
It just bang, it forms, yes.
Yeah, but how can you can't keep taking from one universe and create lots and lots of more universes, can you?
Yeah, but that second universe could then create another universe, couldn't it?
Yes, because you've got the basic recipe of the material going in, and that recipe, all those ingredients then start to form the other stars, planets and galaxies within the own other universe. And when those stars in that universe collapse into a black hole that sucks more material in, that then spews it out into another universe, where it then starts to form more galaxies and stars and planets and so on. So it's an incredible cycle. If that's true, I mean, it's still a hypothesis. I mean, we could be asking this question in a year's time, and we've got something completely different on the table. To be clear,
Well, that's what I love about science.
That's the beauty of science. Yes, it can change
with evidence. Yeah.
And bearing in mind everything we know about the universe, all our theories, all our hypotheses, all the mathematics is based on the observable universe, which means we only observe 5% of the known universe. It's only 5% that we observe. So that means 95% of it we don't know. We haven't observed it. If you went into court with that kind of evidence, they'd throw it out. And that's where we're at the moment. We need an awful lot more. That's why we keep sending telescopes up to try and find as much data as we possibly can. I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be down to quantum physics, I think, personally. It'll be down to quantum physics will have the answer for us, I think, at the end of the day. I think that's where the critical elements are going to be, down at that level. And that's why there's a lot of emphasis on hadron colliders and things like that.
Kevin, I don't know about you, but I find all this stuff absolutely mind-blowing.
Well, I can't work out how you can make billions of universes from one universe.
I can't figure out how there was nothing and then there was something. So
well, you're going to the very beginnings. Where the question comes then, what was the first universe? And we don't know. That would be, because if there are these multiple universes that are happening and we're getting all these atomic particles collapsing in, and that leads to the formation of another universe, at some point there must have been a first one.
There had to have been.
But what was that first one? The trouble is, it could be at a ridiculous period of time in the past. I mean, a number which is impossible to conceive. And therefore, what was it?
And but this is where religion is born, isn't it? Because we cannot, as a species, understand that, and therefore we have to put something in its place to explain it away, which doesn't, of course, explain anything. Kevin, thank you for that. Great question. We've got another caller, but we've got to take a quick break, and then I've got loads of questions as well on the text messages, so don't go anywhere.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, it is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you, and with me is Andy, our spaceman, Andy Lowndes. And apparently the SpaceX that was due to take off this hour has been delayed for weather reasons.
Oh, okay.
So I've just had
sensible.
that hot off the press from my team.
That's a
next door.
shame, because I did speak to Elon and I said, look,
Get on with it. We're going to be on.
Petrie needs this launch. And
Yeah.
he went, okay, I'll put it off for 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll try and do it. Right, couple of questions from text before we go back to the calls. Rachel, we hear so many reports about potential alien craft sightings, abductions, etc. What is your view on this? And do you believe that aliens have already visited Earth?
There's absolutely no... You have to be scientific about it, unfortunately, but that is the rules. There's absolutely no piece of evidence we could take into a court to say extraterrestrials have ever visited this planet. I mean, we see a lot. I mean, I'm a bit of a fan of watching all these programs. There's some hilarious comments being made on there at times, and no one, after all the pictures, all the sightings or anything, can walk in and say, piece of evidence, what do you think of that? And you go, yeah, this is it. I mean,
there's those alien bodies that they keep digging up that turn out to not be.
No, it's all. I mean, I'm not going to decry people from saying they see flying objects. I will never decry that, ever, because you see what you see and you don't understand what it is. You've got to try and do it. And I think the big problem we've had in the world is that scientists especially have a habit of saying, immediately dismissing something without looking at the evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, Avi Loeb, for instance, puts ideas out there which are quite good ones, but then scientists said, yeah, look at the evidence, it's not there. Whereas I think they need to start looking at evidence. I mean, my mother saw a flying saucer, and it was an interesting story. My mother was not scientific at all, nothing at all. Her description was interesting. Years and years go back. At the same time, 1974, someone else happened to be talking about it in 1974. Oh, we saw, and they saw exactly the same thing. And then someone else I was talking to, they saw the same thing in Leicester. So within the Midlands, in 1974, there was a flying saucer of some description in the sky. And the people who were seeing it were credible people who saw it. And it was scary, and they hadn't been primed or anything like that. It's just, it came out in conversation. So people are seeing some things in the sky. Unfortunately, there is no evidence to say extraterrestrials have visited this planet. I love that to be the case. And no matter what they show you, the old Van Daniken stuff and things like that, it is wonderful and it's very imaginative, but the evidence simply isn't there. It doesn't mean to say I don't believe extraterrestrials exist. I do believe there are intelligences in this universe, I really do. The trick is finding them, and that's going to be the hardest bit to ever do, because it's such a vast universe, and we can only use communication that travels at the speed of light. We can't do anything faster than that. So even if we try to communicate with the nearest star, there's 4.2 years it'll take the signal to reach there, 4.2 years to get a response, and really the chances are it's going to be further out than that. And it's just quite possible that there are intelligences out there which have been on their planet for millions of years, a ridiculous level of intelligence. But let me ask question to people out there. Have you ever, how many people have tried to talk to the ants in their garden, communicate with their ants? Well, no, it's silly. Why do you think that's silly? It's a living, intelligent organism within its own structure, but you're superior intellect, so you don't talk to them. Maybe extraterrestrials are so advanced they look at us and go, oh yes, life is developing on that planet, but it's not
like
there
the
yet.
ants.
Ignore them,
Yeah.
and just totally ignore us. That could be that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them either. Why do we never see the dark side of the moon? That's from Bob.
Oh yeah, nice question. Yeah, the moon orbits the Earth. We say that as a generalism. It's a bit untrue, because the Earth and the Moon are almost like a double planet system, the way they actually move. So it's not quite that. But for sake of argument, the Moon orbits the Earth, but it's what's called a tide orbit, which means that it orbits the Earth and rotates on its axis at exactly the same rate. So therefore it only shows the same side of the Moon to the Earth at any given time. However, it does wobble a bit, so we do see 55% of the moon, not just 50%, because it wobbles slightly and we do catch another bit of it. But it's simply because it's orbiting the Earth at the same rate it's rotating on its own axis.
And so we will never see that?
No, we won't see that. Now, the Russians were the first to take photographs of the far side of the moon. And we should call it the far side of the moon. It's not the dark side, because it does get illuminated.
Yeah, it would do, yeah. Is it true that Uranus is known for its sideways axial tilt, causing extreme seasons where each pole has 42 years of continuous sunlight, followed by 42 years of darkness? And why?
Bang on, absolutely. Uranus is tilted.
That's scary.
Yes, Uranus is tilted on its side, and you can observe them. It was first identified as that when they identified the first moons going around Uranus, the larger moons of them, because they found that the moons, instead of going sort of left to right as they're going around as you look through a telescope, they weren't. They're going up and down. And you went, whoa, why is that? It's because the planet is tipped on its edge, and it's tipped on its edge, we think, due to a large impact.
Ah. There you go. Ernest is in Cardiff. Ernest, we've not got very long, but I just wanted to get your theory on.
Hi, Petrie. When you said, Randy, about what the universe expanded into,
yeah,
I've always had the theory, like it's not just expanding, it's speeding up. So the only way that can happen is something extra was put into that universe. And my theory is like, you imagine the universe as a balloon, like you said. Imagine if somebody, or a creator or something, was putting injections, right, in different parts of this balloon. And once it's injected something in, like basic matter or whatever, right, that would make things accelerate. And that would... and there's a theory that there's more than one big bang. There's multiple big bangs. And if you had somebody who was injecting this bubble with basic matter from all different angles, that would cause the universe to expand, and that would cause the universe to accelerate. And it's just something I've